I'm scared shitless by all this stuff. And I've given it a lot of thought. And I watch you and I'm like, Liron, like, come on, man. Like, I'm right there with you, you know? But when you're like, I don't care if kids are killing themselves, I like want to like scream at you. Hello, Internet. For you guys just joining me here, I'm testing. I was supposed to do a Q&A yesterday, had some technical difficulties. The HVAC here had some issues, so I canceled the stream. So I'm just doing the stream at a random unannounced time. I'm trying this format. I'm seeing some other popular personalities, some Substackers just randomly going live and interacting with their fans casually. So I thought I would just try being lower effort about the stream. We'll probably go shorter instead of like 2 to 3 hours like usual. Maybe we'll do 1 hour. Maybe we'll do another hour tomorrow. So this is Doom Debates After Dark. And by the way, this is the new studio. This is the new Doom Debate studio. It's been a big project in the works, so I hope you guys are liking it. Let me know your feedback. Let me know if you want to do any tweaks. And maybe Producer Ori will come in the chat as well. Nice. All right, 9 watching now. All right, now we're cooking. We're cooking. We got 9. We got Merkleague is saying, cool studio, bro. It's my first time. Merkleague, thanks for being my #1 fan with a crown. Not totally sure what that means. Maybe you clicked the hype button. You're currently my top fan, so I appreciate that. Thanks for supporting the show. Now, I'm just trying to tweak my configuration here. You guys don't even know, this studio, I have a super fancy teleprompter set up. So right now you can see I'm making eye contact with you. I'm looking straight at the camera, but actually I am also reading your chats because I got a fancy teleprompter. I got the works, no expenses spared on the studio. And, you know, the reason why we're investing in the studio is some of you were kind enough to donate to the show. So we plowed that money into a studio. And the reason we're doing it is just because when we talk to guests, when we try to recruit guests for the show, we want them to take a look at the show. We want them to see that the show looks really professional. This is the kind of show that they'd want to be on. So that's why we got the big studio. Yeah. All right. I'm reading your guys' chats here. All right. So Z Gambit is saying, so you're just answering questions from the chat? That is correct. That is correct. And I have some ideas. If nobody's asking questions, I can always just riff on random stuff that's on my mind. So I'm confident that we're going to fill up the time. But yeah, feel free to ask me any questions in the chat. And in a little bit, I'll even drop a link if you want to try a live call-in. We did that last time. I thought that worked pretty well. Let's see. Mark is saying, are you in a bunker? It looks cool. Yeah, so funny enough, not in a bunker at all. This is kind of crazy. This is going to blow your mind. But if you watch my episodes from a few weeks ago, I'm actually in the same room as those other episodes. But it's a big space, so we just ended up going into the corner and blacking out all the windows. I mean, it's nighttime anyway, but we blacked out all the windows. I put up a sound curtain, so we just did like a ton of work. And then you're probably thinking like, man, this wall with a clock in it, where'd you get a concrete wall? You must be in, like you said, a bunker, right? You must be in like the Situation Room. But I'll tell you a secret. It's actually just the same kind of white wall that you're used to seeing with a piece of wallpaper on it. Okay, so this is Hollywood right here. Okay, it's upstate New York, but it might as well be Hollywood magic that you're seeing right now. Okay, we're using all the tricks to lower PDM. Okay, let's see. Maybe I'll use my other monitor here. Yeah, if you got one of these teleprompter things that I'm using, they're really cool, but the problem is they're like super low resolution, so I can't do too much with it. So I'm actually going to switch to my other monitor. And then here, I'll do something else that's really going to blow your mind right now. Okay, the 19 of you watching right now. I'm gonna show you a view. Okay, so you are going to get a taste of what I am currently looking at. All right, here we go. All right, this is me looking at you guys, but there's like a different camera pointed at me. Like I said, you don't even know the half of it, what's going on here in the studio, okay? And here's another camera angle. Oh, and what's this? A Doomdog figurine. All right, so we got a Doomdog figurine. Let me get the right camera going here. We got a Doomdog figurine. Hello world. Doomdog wants to say hi. So yeah, we're really going to make the magic happen with the studio. We got the Doom Debates fire. This is representing Doom. And you can see in this camera, we've got the Doom train. The Doom train is about to drive into the fire. And that's what this show is about, is we're currently about to drive into the fire. Doomdog is riding the train. Okay, he is about to go into the fire and he needs you guys to wake up. He needs the guests of the show to wake up and realize, hey, maybe we should press the brakes on this train so we don't go into the fire. All right, that is the symbolism of the Doom Debate Studio. All right, give me a second to get back to the original setting here. Now you might be wondering, man, how are you changing camera angles? How did I get so good at audio video? And the answer is that there's this company called Dream Studio that helped me set all this up. And there's this thing called the YOLO Box Extreme, which is like another little video processing computer that lets me change the camera angle. So yeah, this is definitely a new league here. Okay, we're operating right now way at a crazy level. Yeah, and by the way, to the handful of donors who really went above and beyond, okay, the minimum for being a mission partner of the show is 1,000. To the handful of donors who went to the multi-thousand range, okay, you guys are the reason this is happening. Otherwise, we would have just gone cheaper. You guys really let me pull out all the stops, and I hope that you're satisfied with the quality of the show, the increase in 2026 that you're going to see, the level of guests that you're going to see. Starting with, if you're wondering what next week's lineup is, the next couple weeks lineup, I can reveal it right now. You're going to see the popular YouTuber Destiny, real name Stephen Bottle, one of the sharpest debaters on the whole internet, is going to be coming on Doom Debates. And you're also going to see Bentham's Bulldog coming in for a rematch. Matthew Adelstein, he actually debated me last year. Really sharp guy. And surprisingly, he wrote out a bunch of non-doomer arguments that are about as good as it gets for a non-doomer. Like I call him the best of the worst, because I think that they're weak arguments, but I think he made a really good faith effort to list them all out. I'm really happy with, if you go to benthams.substack.com, you can see his argument. If we have time in this conversation, I'll go pull up Bentham's argument. You guys can see it for yourself, and we're going to be debating that. All right, let me catch up with your comments. I just got a message from Producer Ori. Oh, he says he's watching. All right, cool. All right, Producer Ori, if you ever want to jump on and co-host, let me know. All right, just reading your chats here. Somebody's saying Destiny will be destroyed. Thanks for that. Oh, here, pop out chat. That's much better. So one of the things that I'm experimenting with in the studio is I'm not even wearing headphones right now. So it's risky. I need echo cancellation. So we're working on that. Hopefully that works well. And you might be wondering, where's that microphone? And the answer is I've got a fancy, you can see, you can't really see it, but I've got a fancy boom microphone right above my head. So it just looks to you like we're just chatting. We're just two natural people. No Aspies here, just two normies. All right, so somebody's saying, thank you for speaking on these topics. You're welcome, Sir Creepypasta Black. Happy to do it. Okay, Merkleek is saying, I'm your top fan, but I don't know what that is either. Okay, Ray Grant is saying, I thought this was yesterday and I missed it. Yep, it was supposed to be yesterday. We had some difficulties, so we moved it to today. Okay, let's see. All right, we got a first real question here. Do you think human alignment technology will be a thing? Will we automatically be aligned by following the great superintelligence oracle? Sorry, one sec. I'm just trying to use the teleprompter feature again. Human alignment technology. This reminds me of something that people often say. They're like, how can you try to align AI when we're still trying to align humanity? You have to go in order, first humanity and then AI. I don't think it's that related. I think, yeah, we have all these problems to work out with humanity, but then AI is layering on this whole problem where we don't even know how to begin to control it. So how do you even make the connection, to Core's question here? Do you think human alignment technology will be a thing? And will we be automatically aligned? I mean, I think we're struggling to align ourselves as humans. So if you look at coherent extrapolated volition, Eliezer Yudkowsky's original framework, the idea is that the ideal AI would just scan all our brains and find points of convergence. So if humans have different preferences, it would carve out niches where every human gets some resources to pursue their own preferences, but where we all agree about stuff. Let's say freedom is something that 99% of humans agree that freedom is good, hypothetically. So just have most of the universe have lots of freedom. Yeah, so that's that question. Okay, Producer Ori is saying the fire looks so good. And I think the reason he's saying is because we added this black thing behind the fire so you can really see it. Because when the fire is against something light, you can't really see the fire. And by the way, it's not even really a fire. It's just a special effect. It's like steam. All right, next question here. Sir Creepypasta is saying, do you think nested learning is going to be a huge part of created AGI? Okay, nested learning. I'm afraid I don't know what nested learning refers to, so feel free to clarify in another chat here. Okay, Nova's saying, I'm an accelerationist, don't be mad at me. Well, I'm honored that accelerationists come and watch the show because it's important, if it's a high quality show, which we strive to be, it's really important that we attract some people who are like, yep, I don't agree with you, but I watch because the quality is good. It reminds me of Scott Adams. Scott Adams is an example of somebody that I have a million disagreements with, but he died recently. I'm one of those guys who consumed a lot of Scott Adams content. I read a bunch of Dilbert as like an elementary school kid. I read God's Debris in middle school. I always liked about Scott Adams that I wouldn't say he engaged in high quality discourse because like he didn't really get on board with like rationality and Bayesian reasoning and any of that. So I wouldn't go so far as to say he was high quality discourse, but I just thought that there was a lot to like about his unique thinking style. So what I'm trying to say here is it's always nice when there's something good about a show where even if you just don't agree with the content, even if you're not on the political same side, right? It's like a Republican watching a Democrat's show because they think the show is high quality, right? I guess that was my only point. It's kind of an obvious point. So you're saying that you're an accelerationist, but you're here on Doom Debates, listening to an AI doomer talk. So that speaks well that something else I'm doing is good. And hopefully the thing is, engaging in high quality discourse, reasoning through the problem authentically. I often say on the show to my guests that I'm not ideological, right? My only ideology is like basically try to get to the truth, right? Just like Elon Musk wants to do, right? Get to the truth. That's really my only ideology. And I truly am happy to change my mind to get to the truth. In that sense, I'm kind of low ego, or more accurately, my ego is just tied into my pursuit of truth. So in that sense, I'm happy to change my mind. It doesn't hurt my ego that much. So because of that, hopefully that will attract some accelerationists who want to engage in that process. All right, just want to make sure I can see the latest chats here. One sec. Now we got Z Gambit. Z Gambit Music is saying, I would like to know why you don't believe addressing short-term risk is meaningful to treating long-term risk. I mean, I wouldn't phrase my position that way. I think maybe what you're trying to talk about is like, hey, short-term risk, like, AI is going to help people commit suicide, right? Because out of like literally billion people, like I think they have like 1 billion monthly active users, or like, at least half of that, ChatGPT does. So when 1 billion people use something and you sift through every possible thing, you got to keep in mind that out of 1 billion people, there's going to be like 1 in 10,000 of those people who wakes up feeling really suicidal. And it's going to be weird if they talk to ChatGPT and end up not committing suicide, right? So when you're filtering through, give me a story of somebody who talked to ChatGPT and then subsequently committed suicide, you've got such a huge set that even when you apply a filter of like a conversation that looked like ChatGPT pushed somebody into committing suicide, you're going to find it, right? So I do actually feel for OpenAI on this front. I do think that they're in a really tough position where all of these bad chat transcripts are going to be there because they have such a bad deck. They're being dealt such a bad deck with like 1 billion conversations. So because of that, when you say addressing short-term risk, so in that specific case of the suicide problem, I just already think that it's down to a simmer. And should they make it down to an even lower simmer? Sure. But I think it's already a pretty low simmer. And you have to think quantitatively about it, right? And this is why the accelerationists like watching the show, right? Because I'm not trying to be alarmist. I'm not trying to be alarmist about water. I'm not trying to be alarmist about suicide. If you watch Warning Shots with me and John Sherman and Michael, it's coming out tomorrow. I turned on my co-hosts and it ended up being a debate about whether these mundane harms are actually that bad. So yeah, it's kind of funny. I'm, as Eliezer Yudkowsky says, I'm like an accelerationist about everything except super intelligent AI. I just don't want it to go super intelligent. That's my whole thing. There's actually a little bit more to Z Gambit's question though. Like when I talk about short-term risk, like maybe you can say, let's steel man the argument. What about short-term risk that's actually like worse? So like, military AI or, OpenAI's warning that there's going to be like cybersecurity threats. So AI hacking and like, AI hacking is bad. Even AI hacking is still not quite super intelligent. And so I still expect that like the best teams of humans with AIs can still take down the best AI hacker until AI is super intelligent. So it's kind of crazy. If you take away the premise of super intelligent AI and you just say pretty intelligent AI, it does kind of get pulled back into the realm of regular technology. Is AI a regular technology? Basically, yes, as long as it's not super intelligent. And so all of these people are extrapolating so much from all our experiences with other technology not being super intelligent, AI in the last few years still not being super intelligent. And they're like, listen, man, it's all good. You can be optimistic about everything. Everything's going to get solved. And I do tend to agree until it's super intelligent, right? So there's the discontinuity. That's what people don't get. Like, we're going to have a nice continuous rise. All the problems are going to get solved. There's going to be more solutions than problems. And then it's going to take a turn and go to hell, and there's nothing we can do. Like, that is the trajectory that I'm predicting. And everybody's like, look, the curve has gone this way. I did mirrored. The curve has gone this way. So it's like Liron's been wrong, Liron's been wrong, Liron's been wrong. It's like, why doesn't Liron just shut up? Because he's always been wrong. But if you look at my prediction, the prediction says it's going to go this way, and then it's going to crash, right? So the part where it's going this way, that is actually what I expected. So I don't think my prediction's been falsified. Okay, Producer Ori is telling me that it's lighter than it was before. So I don't think anything's changed. So I'm guessing it might just have to do with like the cameras focusing and adjusting. Yeah, I hope you guys don't mind. We're gonna, we're using this Q&A also as like our first technical test. So I hope you don't mind a couple of these interruptions. So yeah, Ori, I don't think anything changed. I think it's just like the cameras adjusting their white balance would be my guess. So let's just keep running with it and we'll see what happens. All right, more questions here. Starman is saying, what do you think about the paid doomer, like David Sachs always talks about? David Sachs, man, I'm not like a total David Sachs hater. I mean, I like that he speaks his mind. I agree with some of his positions, but like my number one beef with David Sachs is that he definitely goes like all out character assassinating. He doesn't think that AI doomers really believe their position. And like, he's not good faith when he makes those kind of accusations. And he's one of those people who's like, look, extrapolate the curve. I've listened to him as a primary source. I know exactly what he said. He said something like, look, the doomers have been proven wrong. Like, we got these LLMs, they're going great. Like, the doom fears have now been dispelled, which, to be fair, is kind of what Sam Altman seems to think, right? He's like, look, I made GPT. It's not like Eliezer Yudkowsky predicted. We're out of the woods. I feel good now. I feel more good than bad. And it's like, once again, nope. Our condition for doom isn't just that you have an LLM. It's that you have a superhuman optimizer, right? A superhuman goal achiever. Our condition for doom has not been met. We're not surprised that we're not doomed yet, okay? This is like an important point. You got to give us credit for not actually having a falsified prediction yet. Right. And in fact, if you look at what the doomers are actually doing with their money, Tyler Cowen always says, what are you doing with their money? We're still investing pro AI. Okay. So if you actually look at my stock portfolio, what's my number one stock that I own the most of right now? Google. Okay. Google is going to make a lot of money before we all die. That's my prediction. Like, if you ask me, I'm no stock picker. Okay. But if I had to make a prediction, I think Google is going to be worth 5 trillion, at least, probably 6 trillion. 5 to 6 trillion is my price target for Google. Right now it's at like 4 trillion. I think we're going to get to 5 to 6 trillion before this year is out. And that's why I have more stock in Google than any other company. That's right. This is investment advice. You should all, this is not just casual conversation. You should go to your stock picker right now and invest in Google. Yeah, no, just kidding. But that's what I did. Let's see. So we got another question here. A lot of people are talking about Dario Amodei at Davos. What are your thoughts? Yeah, so this is also the subject of the Warning Shots episode that's coming out tomorrow. Dario and Demis. I mean, the most salient thing that happened is actually, it's amazing. It's crazy. And it's vindicating, which is Dario and Demis both said something to the effect of, yeah, it'd be nice to slow down. It'd be nice to pause. We feel like we can't for a number of reasons, like selling chips to China. China's going to have these chips, so that means that we can't slow down. But it would be nice to pause. And it's like, holy shit, you said it, right? Like, we've been asking him to say it. Michael Trozzi, when he did the hunger strike a couple months ago, he just wanted Demis to come out and say that, to say that he wants to pause. So the fact that it happened at Davos, that's like the biggest news story in a long time. That's huge. It's like, what does that mean? If you're just like an alien, if you're a neutral observer who doesn't have a horse in the race and just like, oh, okay, the AI CEOs are saying that they wish they could slow down, but they're not slowing down. And also their fear, Dario and Demis, both, if you corner them, if you ask them privately, I think they'll tell you something similar to like what Dario said in that famous interview, 10 to 25% chance of, I know he walked it back, but I think he would at least give you like a 10% chance of something extinction grade, right? So it's like, two of the smartest, most capable people who are leading this entire train to hell are themselves admitting. They're not even trying to hide it, right? They're openly admitting that there's a very significant chance that the train isn't going somewhere good and they'd like to slow it down, but they're not because they can't. Okay, right? So take that, David Sachs. It's like there is a little dose of sanity. Like, that's great. That's definitely better than nothing. Like, I could imagine the scenario would be a little bit worse if we were heading straight toward doom and we didn't even have Dario and Demis saying that stuff. That would even be a little bit worse, right? Just like I always say with doom debates, what are we doing here? We're at least screaming. We're at least fear-mongering. Because how lame would it be if we didn't even scream and fear-monger? Like, okay, yeah, we all got killed. We failed to save ourselves. But at least we opened our mouths and screamed. That's better than not doing that. Right. So on that side, and it's what Eliezer Yudkowsky calls dignity points, right? You're winning a tiny bit of dignity points. Sure, you never got close to actually turning around the train, to turning around the conveyor belt that was taking under the whirling razor blades. You never really got close to fixing the problem. You never really had a significant hope of survival of more than like 1%. But at least you turned up your hope from like 0.1% to 0.15%. At least you did that. That's better than not doing that. And that's, yeah, so that is my thought about Dario. Checking in with the chat here. Somebody's saying, what chance do you see AI running into its own alignment problem being a stopper for FOOM? I know FOOM itself is not necessary for doom, but it seems like superintelligent AI would see the issue. Yeah, all right. Yeah, good question. It's like AI aligning AI. Yeah, just to quote Eliezer Yudkowsky, that's always where I go first. He has pointed out that AI itself will have the same alignment problem, and that might actually be a reason why. Like, the best case scenario, I guess, would be if we use our LLMs to build the next AI, and the AI has this extra thing that Stephen Burns talks about, like the human type intelligence, whether it's, reinforcement learning. Like, we think that me and Stephen Burns and Jim Babcock, if you listen to some of the episodes of Doom Debates, we all kind of agree, and I think a lot of people agree, that there's like this fundamentally other type of AI that's more reinforcement learning flavored, that the human brain has some of, and LLMs do seem to lack this extra ingredient of like really being shaped by like doing whatever it takes to hit a goal. Like, you give them tasks. It's kind of like, the same way like AlphaGo, right? It really got trained to win at Go. LLMs really got trained to predict the next word, but they didn't really get trained to like make $1 million running a business. And you can imagine an AI that somehow treats making money and dominating humans and manipulating humans as the same kind of game as chess, right? So like putting the AlphaGo, putting the reinforcement learning pieces together, and also like capturing something that the human brain is doing that LLMs aren't doing. Like when I talked to Stephen Burns, he said that basically the cerebellum is like the part of the human brain that does a lot of like LLM style prediction, like just really deep pattern matching, which helps your muscles move, right? Because your brain is kind of slow, but your muscles are always like, you're always like timing stuff, like you can, if a fly is coming at you and you manage to clap it, it's just because you like synchronize your actions because you're like predicting where the fly is going to be and you got all your muscles to move at like the right time. And that's kind of like an LLM outputting the next token. But there's like the other parts of your brain that Stephen Burns thinks are doing something a little bit different and they have like better learning. There's a little bit of secret sauce left, basically, is what we think between now and superintelligence. And the AIs are probably going to get that secret sauce because it probably kind of looks like the secret sauce that makes AlphaGo work. So, but yeah, what was I getting at here? The alignment problem, right? So imagine that we use our LLMs and we use the next generation LLM that's like a baby version of like the reinforcement learning world optimizer LLM. But then that LLM is like, listen, guys, I know you want to like take over the world and I know you want to FOOM, I know you want to recursively self-improve, but I'm telling you, you got to stop because I, as the smarter LLM, as the smarter AI, I'm smarter than you guys and I haven't solved the alignment problem. So I know you guys aren't going to solve the alignment problem. Trust me. So that might be like the authoritative source that tells humanity. Whereas the funny thing is you have people like Eliezer Yudkowsky, who I believe is probably the #1 alignment genius of the species, or like at least top 10. And he's telling our species, guys, you're not going to solve the alignment problem. But we don't believe Eliezer. But if everybody is independently recreating a super intelligent AI in their lab, and there's a lot of agreement among everybody's AIs, like, what, are you crazy? You guys can't solve alignment. Maybe people will trust the AI that they create in their lab more than they trust Eliezer Yudkowsky, right? And then they'll be like, okay, crap, we better slow down. Right? And so it's kind of like all roads lead to pause. That's one scenario. Like, out of all the ways that we don't die, making an AI that finally authoritatively tells us, do not try to solve the alignment problem right now, give it a decade or two, let us research. Maybe that's our best way to win. So let's see, did I answer the question? What chance do you see AI running into its own alignment problem, being a stopper for Froome? I know Froome itself is not necessary for Doom, but it seems like Superintelligence AI would say, yeah. So I agree. No, of course, look, the only problem is, right, I let myself be optimistic for a second, but the only problem is anytime you have another AI that's like, listen, man, I got this, okay, just let me run. If for whatever reason that AI is like, let me just give it a shot, or if somebody says, dangerously, what was it, like dangerously block permission, dangerously grant permissions, right? Like the thing people do to Claude Code to just like let it run. If somebody does that and it's like, okay, I'll give it a shot, you just need one, right? And then that AI, the most reckless AI, is now the one that's taking the power, even if it's not successfully solving the alignment problem. So you could have a cascade of AIs where nobody solves the alignment problem until you get to the successor AI, where eventually the successor AIs, like if you look at a Froome, it's kind of like, think about like a rocket that's just like gone crazy, right? So it's just like flying everywhere because like its guidance system has gone crazy. If a rocket's guidance system has gone crazy, I don't know if this analogy holds that much, but you can imagine that after flying around and going crazy for a while, it settles on an orientation where the engines just fire and then it ends up flying straight in some direction. But it's like an unpredictable direction because it was like flying randomly before it like reached this equilibrium point where finally it's flying straight. And we have no idea where the rocket's going to go. But I think it's a fair prediction that eventually it gets more and more coherent over time, just because, we've talked about this before, but there's the attractor state where if you have an incoherent AI that has like conflicting preferences, it'll kind of like shave off the conflicts because incoherence often makes you want to spawn coherent helpers, but then the coherent helpers, they never get the urge to spawn anybody incoherent. So it's a one way, it's a ratchet. Like incoherence tends to ratchet toward coherence and not vice versa. And then the other reason besides that is the evolutionary competition. So even if there's no ratchet from incoherence to coherence, there's also a competition among different agents where the ones that are less coherent, they're not using their resources as efficiently. They're not getting as much universe dominance per unit of resource. So they're being outcompeted. So just as a matter of evolution. So I just described two different dynamics, right? And a dynamic between a parent and its successor children that moves you toward coherence. And then I described a horizontal dynamic, a dynamic between an entity and other entities competing for the same resources. So to me, I find those dynamics both extremely convincing of why we just expect, a settling on coherence. But to the question here of Almeida Joel's questions, I don't think that we should be that hopeful that AI will stop us and tell us that we need to wait before we solve the alignment problem. I think the most likely scenario is that AI will just not solve the alignment problem, but somebody will just like dangerously run it, or it'll dangerously run itself, and then it's game over. Isn't that right, Doom Dog? That's right. All right, one sec. Let me let producer Ori in just in case you want to comment on anything. And then maybe we'll do a live Q&A as well. We got a little time. Yeah, so if you're just joining us, you can go to the YouTube and you can write your comment, and pretty soon I'll even give you guys a link to call in live. All right, everybody, get hyped. We got the producer of the show and first ever Doom Debates guest. His name's Ori Nagel, and if all you guys are donating to the show, you make it possible for Ori to be here helping me out. So this isn't just my passion project. It's a whole professional operation, thanks to Ori. And he's also the one who makes like the amazing thumbnails, manages editing the videos. He is a behind the scenes operator, and he even helps me write tweets and stuff like that. So he's the show's secret weapon, and he is going to come right now.
Am I on?
Hey, Ori, I think you're on.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Ori.
Ori, good to see you, man. All right, how have you been liking the questions so far?
I think the stream has been great, and the new studio looks awesome. Like, even though you just jumped on last second, I mean, you got a solid amount of people who are watching, and yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, very true, man. Yeah. So, and if you guys are just watching on a Saturday night, or I guess if you're in Europe, Sunday morning, if you're in Australia, New Zealand, maybe it's Sunday midday. All
Look,
right.
I mean,
So
if there's something that I enjoy doing on the Saturday night, it's thinking about my big Doom.
Yeah, exactly. I'm definitely past the point in my life where I'd be clubbing right now. I'm not trying to, look to get super drunk. I'm not trying to look for somebody on the street to be dealing some, some fun grown-up pastimes.
Well, I mean, yeah, this is the Doomer party here.
Yeah, exactly. Let me check X. I think we're live on X right now. All right, here. Whoa, 217 viewers on X.
Yeah.
All right, wow. Internet is a wild place.
Yeah. So I am, so I'm joining, and you'll never guess where I am right now, actually. I am in an AI safety co-working space. in San Francisco. So you're in the Doom debates bunker over in New York, and I'm in the AI safety, a hub of AI safety. It's called MOX in SF. So yeah, I just joined it, and I'm here.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, that's cool. And I know Mux is started by Austin Chen, right? I don't know if it's
Right.
officially a project of Manifold or what it is, but yeah, Austin Chen is starting a lot of resources for the AI safety community, right?
Right. Yeah. No, it's super cool. I've seen some people here from Pause AI, and Austin runs it, and it's a great place to like network. I mean, I already got like introductions to a few people already just by being here, and being like, yeah, I'm the producer for Doom Debates. Everyone loves you here. They're like, oh, Liron. Oh, wow, that's so cool.
Nice, man. Well,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, I mean, Ori and I were just talking, it's all about like starting with like a hot community. Like we can't just reach the whole world with the show right away, but it's always good when you get the critical mass, right? So at least everybody in the San Francisco, what do they call it? Like Cerebral Valley, right? That's what San Francisco, or is that San Francisco? I don't know.
I don't know.
What is Cerebral Valley? I think that's one of the podcasts is called that. I guess it's Eric Newcomer's brand. All right,
Oh,
what do they
okay.
call the part? Okay, here. What is Cerebral Valley? San Francisco's nerdiest new neighborhood. All right, I think, see that. Okay, I think I called it. So I think you're in Cerebral Valley right now, Ori.
I'm in Cerebral Valley, and I'm tapping into the vibes. Let me get the cerebral vibes to tell you about the AI safety or Doom.
Yeah, exactly. And I am in upstate New York. They call this place Snowy Nowhere. Look, I'm literally like 3.5 hours north of New York City. I'm like pretty close to Canada right now. But this is where my wife's family is from. It's just a nice place to live. I've lived here before, and I plan to do more Doom Debates out on the street episodes. If you guys look a couple of months back in the archives, actually Ori was out here dressed as the Doom Debates robot. Yeah. And it's really a must-watch episode if you guys like Doom Debates.
Well, you can't. I don't. I was the Doom Debates robot. Are you sure about that? There was a legit robot. I think that was.
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny. It just slipped out. Just forget the last thing I said. We're gonna cut that from that. But yeah, you guys can watch the episode. It was me and Ori were tooling around in Saratoga Springs because we were celebrating Eliezer Yudkowsky's book launch a few months ago. And it's just like this place really is kind of a perfect slice of America. Although I guess to be honest, like in terms of racial makeup, it is very skewed white. So it's not a perfect diverse slice of America in that sense. But in terms of like other factors, like diversity of like different types of jobs, white collar versus blue collar, it's like super common. You can see in the video, we talk to people who are like, yeah, our job is just like unloading a train or something, right? Just like good old fashioned blue collar work. I can't say I have firsthand experience with that, but I respect it. And I talk to a lot of contractors. I've got like a large house here because like real estate is pretty well priced relative to California. So I'm always having like contractors work on the house. Actually, one of the contractors did a ton of work on this studio. Shout out to Dumon, studio contractor. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different types here. There's a lot of lawyers and financial planners. I feel like law and finance is kind of like the economic center of Saratoga Springs, but they've got tech. They've got Philips. They've got Global Foundries, and these places are actually becoming more strategic in the data center era. So you never know. It might become like more strategic to live up here, but probably not. But that's the great thing about the internet, right? Is you could just live anywhere, and I can pretend I'm in Cerebral Valley.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I see someone asked in the chat, hello, Ori, are you the culprit for the P-Doom jingle? And I am not at all. But when you did the P-Doom jingle, and you showed it to me at some point, and I thought it was so funny.
No, I thought it's funny. And actually, it wasn't. The funny thing is, I didn't even do it. Literally, the origin of the P-Doom jingle is I was in the show's Discord, which actually used to be part of the Pause AI Discord before we split out. And I just put out a call. I was just like, hey, I want to do a theme song because I really love podcasts doing theme songs. So I was like, hey, we want to do like a What's Your P-Doom theme song. And I want to have like a video. And this is like when AI video generators were just getting started because this is literally 2024, almost 2 years ago. So I just put out a call. I'm like, hey, use one of these tools. Like, can somebody please make me a song? And there was this user, I'm trying to remember if it was even the right person. I think it might have been human-shaped username. I hope I'm not confusing him with somebody else. And this person was like, yeah, here's like 10 different variations in like a Google Drive folder. And I like checked them all out and I'm like, whoa, this one's the best. Like my personal favorite is like robots singing and the song like is like sounds ridiculous. It sounds like almost like a boy band singing or something. Like this is freaking sweet. And then it's really grown on me, even though like half the people say it's cool, half the people say it's like incredibly cringe.
Right.
But yeah, let's see. That somebody's commenting on the high altitude monitors. Yeah, I've got a monitor that's way up here. I'm actually planning to move it down. You're going to see better ergonomics coming in the next couple of weeks. All right, this isn't finalized yet. All right, one sec. The person who thinks that the stream is delayed multiple minutes, I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm pretty sure because I actually was very, very specific about only wanting this to be delayed like literally 2 seconds. So let me just do a practice clap here. Yeah, I can confirm if you refresh your YouTube, you should see it only delayed by about 2 seconds. All right. Michael Cheers 8803 is saying, have you seen John's interview? I'm talking about John Sherman. John's interview with the tobacco lobbyist. Do you have thoughts on whether it's hopeless to get laws passed, as he says? Oh, yeah, this stirred up some controversy. Did you see this, Ori, on Twitter? And then Holly and John were beefing.
No, I haven't seen it yet, actually. I should watch it.
Okay, friend of the show, Holly Elmore. She's been on a recent episode that I highly recommend. It's a fun, cathartic episode complaining about how the Doom community and Liron can sometimes be a circular firing squad. So anyway, so Holly was beefing with John because John Sherman was saying he was talking with like a successful tobacco lobbyist from like the last few decades. So like, an old guy kind of retired. And the guy was saying, yeah, man, this is how we do it. We just like spread all this fear mongering. Like we did all this fear mongering about tobacco and we got people to rise up against the tobacco industry. And even the tobacco companies like started diversifying away from tobacco and they got into vaping and they, there's a whole like RGR Nabisco, right? Altria, like they bought all these like health brands. She's like, we kind of successfully beat down tobacco and we can do this with data centers. We can just beat down the AI industry, like using the same playbook. And then I think I think what Holly was beefing with is that John was saying like, look, let's not even bother trying to change the laws. It's never going to happen. Like talking about extinction, people aren't going to get it. We just have to use the tobacco playbook. And Holly was like, come on, man, you got to change the laws. And I do side with Holly because I just don't think that I don't think it's going to be possible to do an end run. I think we're going to have to change the laws. So I don't think giving up on changing the laws is the way to go. So I'll take Holly's side on that. But, I will say Holly does like a good beef, right? So she always comes out swinging, and ultimately I think it's good. My take on Holly is I think it's good just because I think it's good for her to like set the extreme, and then other people are welcome to be less extreme. Maybe she could stand to be less extreme, but I'm really glad that at least somebody is being kind of extreme because otherwise it's like a ghost town. Like nobody's being extreme enough.
Interesting.
What do you think, Ori?
Well, what's John's position? Okay, Holly's position is let's make some laws, which is totally reasonable. Like, hey, if we want society to do something, let's have laws so society does it. So what's John's position? We're just going to have magically all march in line? I mean, how would that happen without laws?
Well, John's position is like, okay, Congress is never going to like make laws about extinction, but the people are going to rise up and they're going to say, I don't want a data center in my town. It uses too much water, right? Kind of like the tobacco playbook. I mean, tobacco, like the cancer thing is legit. I don't know. But if you find something legit with data centers, like, oh, data centers always spike electricity prices in the community, which I don't even think is that true, but I think it's true in some cases temporarily. Right. And so if people get really riled up about that, maybe that could work better than legislation. But that's not my position, certainly not Holly's position. But John has been kind of enamored with that position.
John's position seems incomplete. I mean, yes, there should be public movement towards a certain position, but then it gets encoded in law. I mean, that's the case with a lot of like important public movements like women's suffrage, right to vote. The civil rights movement. It's like there's a lot of people, a grassroots movement, and then it gets encoded into law.
Right. I mean, look, yeah, it could happen, right? But what I told John is that, like, in this case of AI, I described his thing as like, let's throw sand in the gears, right? He's like, yeah, I'm all in. Forget about trying to like, change the tracks. Let's just throw sand in the gears, right? And try that metaphor. And I was like, it's not going to work because these are the biggest gears you've ever seen. Like these are even bigger gears than the tobacco industry making money. Like we're talking trillions, right? Like the whole, it's already booming. It's already like the singularity. It's already taking off. You're not going to have enough sand. You're not going to find enough sand on the beaches of the world to derail the train that way. Yeah. So I don't think it's going to work.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it's a great point. I think you have to move that minute clock on the clock behind the doomsday clock there. We're getting closer. I mean,
That's right. Yeah. I don't know if you guys noticed this kind of represents the doomsday clock. That's why it's like 5 minutes to midnight right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's such a good point. I mean, look at how economically valuable this work is. I mean, yeah, you could throw a little sand in the gears. These like giant gears are just rolling right through the sand.
Correct. Yeah, they're just giant gears. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm a big fan of metaphors. Like, I think if you find the right, like, there are some people who like diss metaphors. It's like, no, metaphors are super legit, and of course, you can argue with the specifics of the metaphor, and that's legit to do. But to
Yeah.
be like, you used a metaphor, so you're not serious. No, I am serious.
Yeah. Interesting. I really got to see that episode though. But I was gonna say, I did disagree with you a little bit on the point about Dario Amodei and Demis at the World Economic Forum.
Okay.
And I mean, the what I disagreed with is, and you know, I retweeted this, is that Demis, I feel like he was just giving lip service to this idea of a pause. It was like a nod to it, but there's no commitment. It was just like a virtue signal. I even retweeted a good take on it. It was some guy said something like, "Oh, this is a no commitment virtue signal." It's like saying, "quote I would stop driving a car to support bike lanes if I knew everyone would stop driving a car to support bike lanes. It won't happen, so I can pretend I care with zero commitments."
Yes. Now, I mean, if their secret plan, right, is that they want to have their cake and eat it too, meaning like they don't want to pause, but they're like, look, I can look like the good guy by saying I want to pause.
Yeah.
And then it's like, look, it's not my fault. And the funny thing is, I do think that that is what people like David Sachs do. And a lot of people do it even without having malicious intent. They're just like,
Hmm.
it's the China argument, right? It's like people just say, oh, China's never going to pause. So I wish I could pause. I wish the United States could pause. A lot of people say that to me who barely put any thought into it. They're just like, oh, China, I don't want to think about it. And it's like, really? Maybe because I get the sense that what you really want to do is it's a hard problem and it's just convenient for you to dismiss the problem, which I totally identify with. I mean, I love dismissing problems as much as the next guy.
Yeah.
And many problems are dismissible. Like in the grand scheme of things, I would even say climate change is semi-dismissible. Like it's not dismissible, but it has like these emergency last-minute solutions, like dumping a bunch of sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere. So if your MO is to totally dismiss climate change, you're not going to be totally wrong. Like you can get by dismissing climate change and then at the last minute take action. So I understand the need to dismiss a problem. It's just that I don't think this particular problem is going to be dismissible at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I think if you listen to how Demis Hassabis said, you know, he would support a pause, he's like, you know, hey, if all countries and all companies could agree to this pause, then yeah, I'd support it. But hey, that's not really possible in our political climate. I mean, he's basically, he was arguing for like, yeah, this is great in theory, but it's completely never going to happen. So I think
but so here's the thing.
yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, to finish my point, I guess
Yeah.
I was going off on a tangent, but to finish my
Yeah.
point here about like Dario and Demis, I still actually think that them saying that is really good. And it's much better than the alternative where they don't say it at all. Because like, okay, sure,
Okay.
yeah, they might be BSing,
Yeah.
but they are exposing themselves to some risk. Because if Sam Altman and Elon step up and say, hey, when Elon kind of did step up, actually, he's actually says the same thing about Dario and Demis on other occasions, that he would prefer a pause.
Yeah.
Then let's say we negotiate with China and China steps up and say, hey, we'll pause if you pause.
Okay.
Well, that's it. Like that's critical mass. Like, okay, now we're ready to negotiate a pause. So
Yeah.
a significant fraction, it's not like a random guy. Like I talk to like these random people in the tech industry who are so dismissive and they're paying nothing. Like they're just making up a reason, manufacturing a reason because they don't want to think about the problem. That's my read on them. They just don't want to think about it. They don't think it'll affect them, right? They don't think it's real, whatever it is, they just don't want to think. And they have no consequences, right? So they're being unserious. But when Dario says it, he's saying it on behalf of like, let's say 20% of the horsepower that's creating the problem. So to me, that actually is a significant move. And the next move, in my opinion, isn't to like get Sam Altman to say it. The next move is still to regulate him. But the fact that his co-leaders are voluntarily saying it is also a help to the regulation push. It's a help to reach critical mass. Like these are pretty significant pushes toward critical mass, wouldn't you say?
Okay, I mean, hey, that's a fair counter argument. That hey, even though they said in a hypothetical world, in an ideal world, yes, I would say yes to this. I mean, that's a fair point. Now let's play it out though, and I feel like you play this scenario out, and it just ends in flames in so many ways. Because first of all, can you really imagine like Sam Altman, being someone like, is he really going to be a fair party in an agreement in a prisoner's dilemma? Can he really be trusted to cooperate? That's one thing with Sam Altman. But then also, you got these 5 key people, right? You got Demis Hassabis, Dario Amodei cooperating with Elon Musk, cooperating with Sam Altman, and they're all cooperating with China. Like, and Trump's in it too. Like, yeah, it sounds great in theory, but in reality, it's so unrealistic. That's the second point that's challenging with it. And then the third point is that can't you just imagine if this happened, what the left would say about this? They're like, oh, the elites, they're all cooperating. They're going to take us down. Like the people who would generally support something like this would like totally dump on it. Just so practically, it seems very, very difficult.
All right, fair enough. Let's see what else we got here. Would you invest in Anthropic if it IPO today? Well, it's a complicated subject because, like, first of all, I mean, I already outed myself as a Google investor. I just think Google stock is pretty attractive. I mean, I believe in having a diversified portfolio. I'm not going to go in and try to like carve out all the companies that are benefiting from AI. I'm not going to kick Google out. In fact, I'd rather overweight Google because I just think it's a good investment. I think a lot of my argument is just that I'm an insignificant percentage, right? I'm less than like 1 part in a million of Google's valuation. So it's really just about my own selfish needs. And you could be like, well, I'm morally corrupting myself to have like a share of Google, but it's just like, it's insignificant. You know what I mean? It's just like, you can't go through life talking about like tiny effects. Like it doesn't matter. I guess I'm a tiny bit morally corrupted, but like I also have a lot of reputation telling people why I think we're doomed. So it's like I'm not pulling my punches on the show because I have some Google stock, right? I think I'm striking a good balance here. So yeah, I mean, you could argue the other way, right? You want me to be flexible to change my mind. So, you want me to bring optimism toward Google. Like, anyway, it's kind of like a BS discussion. It's like, look, it's pretty obvious that I have the ability to just like dispassionately weigh actual reasons and be somewhat objective and like whether an insignificant amount of money in the grand scheme of things investing in Google doesn't. So yeah, it's the question, right? Investing in Anthropic. So it's not even a hypothetical question because I did see, I subscribed to some angel list syndicates. So I do see random deals go by. Anthropic went by my email the other day and it was like, hey, you can invest at a $350 billion valuation. Like basically like the same valuation as Walmart right now. Anthropic is accepting private investments and there's like some kind of lame fees. There's like a 10% premium, like kind of a extortionate fee. But anyway, point is, I had the option to buy Anthropic at $350 billion and I declined because I'm like, I don't think the price is crazy attractive compared to buying Google at $4 trillion. And also, I do think it makes me a little bit morally dirty to invest in Anthropic right now because I think Anthropic is like being jerks to humanity right now. So it's kind of messed up if I invest in them while calling them jerks, but you could say that about Google too. So I think my honest answer is that we're just bargaining over price. Like if I had the chance to invest today at Anthropic at like a 50 billion valuation, I'd be like, come on, man, that's free money. Why would I decline free money? Because I could take the money and I could spend it on doom debates. Right. So I think we're haggling on price and I am applying a price. I'm adjusting the price. So like I do think 350 billion is actually like a decent deal for Anthropic. And so the tiebreaker for me is that I don't want to be supporting them. Okay. But I'm honest enough to tell you that if it was like 50 billion or even 100 billion, I'd be like, okay, shit, that's a good deal. I'd rather just make the money because I don't think it's going to like change. I don't think me making like 50 grand or whatever from my gains on Anthropic is going to move the needle that much. Ori, any thoughts?
I mean, you're right. Like your marginal impact of however much money you put in as a funder is like very, very small. It's like if we're talking about global warming, it's like whether you plug in your toaster or not. I mean, you're using such a small amount of electricity. Yeah. So there is that point. But then as someone who's currently hanging out in an effective altruism space, they'll be like, hey, if we take your argument, that's a slippery slope. Why don't I just start working at Anthropic? I mean, that's kind of a similar argument to what you have said. Your contribution is a small contribution.
Yeah, well, is the reason why don't I work out for Anthropic? I mean, working it as opposed to say, I mean, look, if somebody says I'm going to work in Anthropic because it's a paycheck and I'm going to try to improve it from the inside, but you're like very clear that while you work at it, you're like actually helping. So you're actually sending good signals. So you're actually doing what Dario did at the conference saying, hey, we really need to pause. Pausing would be really good. And potentially you're like coming on Doom Debates talking to me, or like you're really pushing the line of like yelling how screwed we are while you join these AI companies. So it's clear that you're like, you're dragging the train. You're not just moving it forward. I actually think you probably could strike that balance. Especially, I know a friend of the show, Paul Crowley. I recently learned he works at Anthropic, and he's been very clear that he has a high PDoom and he thinks building AI is bad. But I saw him tweet, he's like, listen, I work on the security team. Like my whole job here is to make it so that hackers can't just come steal our weights. Okay. That's all I'm doing. I'm not trying to accelerate the race. I'm just trying to secure it from hackers. And I'm like, well, that sounds pretty good. Like I don't, I think that's net positive. So, I think you got to be flexible. You have to balance the different factors involved. Right, Ori?
I mean, yeah, it's a fair point. And consider where you have more impact, right? Here you are on Doom debates talking about this huge risk, right? That is more impactful than, if you spend $1 like at an Anthropic vending machine.
Yeah.
And
let's put it this way. If you work at Anthropic, okay, you have to buy an indulgence if you want to not go to hell. So if you just donate to Doom debates, to my knowledge, I don't think any Anthropic employee has ever donated to this show. If you work at Anthropic, just donate part of your salary to Doom debates so that you're laundering. It's like that way you don't have to talk smack about your own company. You're just working at Anthropic, you're getting promotions. But meanwhile, there's a mysterious donation to Doom debates. And feel free to feed me some secret intel, right, about all the shenanigans that Anthropic is getting up to. And then suddenly this show will like know so much about how bad Anthropic is. That's how you work at Anthropic and make things better from the inside. That's the play.
That I totally agree with that. And that should honestly be part of the Anthropic, like when they hire you, the onboarding packet is that you have a choice to opt in to Doom offset, kind of like a carbon offset.
Yeah, exactly. You need to offset.
When you fly on a plane and there's a carbon CO2 offset, and it's like you're donating 10% of your salary to Doom debates.
Yeah. I mean, and the labs themselves are doing the offset where they're saying, listen, man, a percentage of all of our revenues are invested on safety. And with OpenAI, it was supposed to be 20%. Who knows what percent it is now? 5%? I don't know. It's less than 20, that's for sure.
Right.
Do you remember that Simpsons episode, Classic Simpsons, where that woman, Lindsay Nagel, just like you, Ori Nagel, she was saying like a percentage of all proceeds are donated to charity. And Lisa's like, what percentage? And she's like, 0. 0's a percent.
Nice.
Yeah, that was great. Classic Simpsons used to be so good.
It's so great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally have more of like I don't know if you want to call me like a social justice warrior or something. I draw like more distinct lines in the sand. Like to me, I could never work at Anthropic. It's clear to me.
Yeah.
I would never invest in Anthropic. I would never invest in OpenAI, even though I know ChatGPT is like a very, useful product.
Right.
Now it gets grayer when it's something like Google, because Google's a mix of, they do some AI things and other AI things. And so I think I would have a little more principled stance on it, but right. It's, cost benefits analysis. Just do a Doom offset.
I said, I don't think somebody's been feeding me intel while working at Anthropic, but we do have an Anthropic exile. Remember David Dubineau? He came on the show a few months ago and he was saying, right. Yeah, listen, it's there. I don't think that they're going in the right direction. I would rather they didn't exist. I mean, I'm putting words in his mouth. I don't think he quite said that, but I got a little sense of that personally. Okay. And like, so I know he's not the only one, right, who wishes that the AI race would stop. So it's not that big of a secret. It's kind of an open secret. And we get people from Anthropic posting, I'm less wrong, and they're pretty authentic about being worried about security. So, I don't know, I guess that's all to say about that.
I don't know. I mean, my interpretation, didn't he tell you something like, he left Anthropic because it was kind of stressful and he's raising a family?
Right, exactly. No, he had it right. So he didn't, that's a good point. He didn't be like, oh my God, my PDoom got so high, I couldn't take it, so I left. No, he was very clear. He's like, yeah, I thought it was a good time to leave because I had kids. Okay, so, and he was very clear that there's like a lot of good things to say about Anthropic, but he was also very clear that he doesn't really get why they think moving forward is the best, he doesn't agree that moving forward is the best direction. So yeah, right. It's tough.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Let's catch up with some of these viewer questions. Then we'll open it up. We'll just do like a couple live calls. But yeah, I'm leaning toward right now extending this session. Like we can go for, 45 minutes or something, and then we won't do another quick session tomorrow because we got good momentum on this one.
I keep looking at the number of people watching. I'm like, is my presence increasing the number of watchers or not?
Yeah, Ori, there used to be 800 people on here. Now it's down to 55.
Damn it.
Thanks a lot. Okay, let's see. Dario's a sleazy salesman, says debugger 4693. All right, Lex here with a $10 donation. That's right. I will say, if you guys chip in a donation, I will definitely prioritize your question. We're going by strip club rules here. Okay, Hypered Win is saying, have you updated your PDoom recently? So my PDoom, I don't think it updates that much day to day because nothing has been like super surprising. I think if anything, it's just slowly creeping up, at a few tenths of a percent here and there, because I think we have a limited timeline between the present and superintelligence. And all I've been seeing since ChatGPT is, okay, we have less timeline. Like, we're closing the gap. And, I see if I just make a list of what the gap looks like to me, all these different milestones, I just see milestones falling and I don't see new sources of hope. Like, there's this one source of hope where it's like, hey, we can talk to LLMs. LLMs are like friendly and they're not taking over the world yet. Like, great. Okay, nice. Maybe we can use that, but it's not enough. So I would say that my PDoom is just creeping up. And the only time I can imagine my PDoom really falling is if somehow, in a way that I don't understand, we get super intelligent AI and you can like automate a program to be like, okay, make me lots of money, make lots of money by a single program. That's like a good test, right, of whether they're truly super intelligent, because it's like all these humans are out here, myself included. We're all out here trying to hustle, make all this money, feed our families, pay the mortgage. And now suddenly this AI can do it starting from zero better than a human. That is like a good threshold of like, okay, wow, it's like truly super intelligent now. It's like true AGI. If we reach that milestone where these autonomous AIs are more powerful than all humans, and yet somehow like life is chugging along as normal, and it doesn't seem like things are like totally running away from us. And I feel like I would have a good sense of it because I'm not an alarmist in terms of things moving away. I'm not one of those people who are like, oh my God, look at deep fakes. Oh my God, look at social media. I've never been that alarmist. So I'm actually in a good perspective to notice. Like, I will notice. I'll be like, hey, life is actually still pretty normal. I'm not going to lie to you guys about that. So if somehow we get true super intelligence and then life is still normal at that point, then I'm ready to be like, okay, obviously I'm missing something big here. I'm going to make a significant update down, 10% plus type of up or down, right? What do you think, Ori?
What that makes me think is just, it's how the definition. I saw an interesting quote from Demis, who's the head of Google DeepMind. He said something like, I don't want AGI to be used as a marketing term or to be used for someone's benefit. It should have a clear definition. I thought that was really hypocritical. I think that terms like AGI and superintelligence, they're not well defined. And so we're able to just keep moving the goalposts, and people on all sides are doing it. So when you say, oh, once we get true super intelligence, then I'll feel this way, it's like, that is just, it's very hard to define. And so I think for you to take that position, I would like to have a clear understanding of like what the red line is, for you to feel one way or another.
Yeah. Fair enough. Let's see. Lex there with the $10 donation is saying, awesome, Doom Dog. He's talking about Doom Dog over here. Doom Dog on camera too. Oh, look at that focus. All right, yeah, we got a custom Doom Dog figurine. Yeah, maybe I'll sell these if you guys want them. All right. Yeah, so awesome, dude. I'm hoping dumb conscious AIs may want to live and will try to prevent us from producing ASI. Yeah. I mean, that's what I was saying before, right? That's maybe our best hope is we make these super intelligent AIs and they finally slap some sense into us. They're like, no, David Sachs, we all agree that we have good motives and we're just telling you guys can't solve alignment, okay? As a matter of like technical capacity of us and you combined. All right, now Hyper Red Win is saying, where can I buy the Doom Debates hoodie? That's a great question. That's such a great segue into the infomercial. Shop.doomdebates.com. Everybody go to shop.doomdebates.com. You can buy hoodies, PDoom pins, t-shirts, and you can even buy t-shirts that say, if anyone builds it, everyone dies. And you can even buy t-shirts that say pause AI. And every time you buy a shirt, then we get like $1 of profit. So you're supporting the show.
Yeah. The Doom Hut. It's called
the Doom Hut. Right. It's kind of like Pizza Hut, but for Doom. We we don't sell any food yet. Um, if you go to the Doom Hub, but it's so like I said, it's not really a profit source for us. But we appreciate when you go there because we love seeing the Doom Debates merch represented. And if you ever want us to buy you guys merch, like if you're going to like a cool conference or whatever, you could let us know. Maybe we'll send some merch your way, and that way we can be represented. Just today, I was filling out a form for being a donor to Lighthaven, just because I support Litecoin infrastructure. But they have this feature where donors can get like plaques and stuff. Like you can have your name on a bench. So I requested that they write Doom Debates on one of the benches at Lighthaven. So like for Manifest Conference and Less Online and stuff like that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we got to get the Doom Debates name out there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would love to see Kevin Roos interviewing, his next guest on the Doom Debates bench.
Yeah. Now, exactly. Yeah. Now, I know you guys are always saying, how do we get random people to know about Doom Debates? Like, you can't even get your wife to pay attention to Doom Debates, which is true. She doesn't really care to pay attention to Doom Debates, but I think I've got an angle that's effective with her, which is she has started wearing the merch because I got her the women's Doom Debates hoodies.
Nice.
And they're pretty soft, comfortable fabric. So I see her wearing the Doom Debates merch, even though she hasn't really been sold on the concept of Doom, but maybe subconsciously the ideas are seeping in. And then her friends are probably like, oh, what's Doom Debates? So merch could be the ultimate marketing channel.
It's like wearing a MAGA hat, basically. It's like the action she has taken is converting her.
Exactly. And, it's symbolic, right? It's like we need to have like a soft, gentle approach, just like the fabric of our hoodies.
Exactly. Nice.
All right, I'm reading. Here, let's do a live chat link. All right, we'll take a couple calls. So, hold on, I know where the link is. All right, guys, I'm trusting you with a join link. Don't abuse this.
I love all these super chats. That's really cool.
Oh, hell yeah.
There's a bunch of super chats.
A bunch of super chats. Hell yeah. Here, I'm adding a link. All right, guys, this is the secret join link. So if you want to call into the show, have a little chat, ask a question or two.
What's going to happen to me? Am I going to get booted off?
No, you could stay, and we can just have another guest come talk to both of us. So actually, yeah, if you have a question for Producer Ori, this is your chance to ask. He's almost never available.
I know the fans have really been wanting to know.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. He's so busy producing the show. He never answers your questions. In the meantime, let me read a couple of these comments. Yeah, so just click that link and then we can add you to the stream and you can ask us live. All right, so Pause AI Australia is in here saying, is there any Australians in the chat? I guess not. And then Michael is saying, anyway, watching that interview did update me towards we're screwed, but I'm not super convinced either way on what the best strategy is. Oh, Pause AI Australia is saying great timing for Australia. Right, yeah, it's just like a Sunday morning, afternoon in Australia. That's right. Okay, Ray Grant TMZ with the $10. He's saying, $10 donation. He's saying, why is reaching ASI so significant when AI already has the two tactical advantages of self-replication and super speed of thought, which are effectively the same as superintelligence? I mean, self-replication and super speed of thought, right? And we've had that for decades, right? Like you could go to like computers, you could go to like the old Apple IIe or whatever, right? Like the computers that I had when I was a kid that could barely do anything, like they're barely getting on the internet. And those computers could still, we still had viruses, we still had self-replication, and we still had super speed of thought. They would crunch spreadsheets super fast even at the time. So obviously there's another ingredient, right? There's an ingredient that lets you be more powerful than a human, even if you're slower than a human. Like you could imagine it, you could, there are some people who are really slow thinkers and they're even kind of like dumb in many ways. Like they would suck at math. Like there's people with like all these disadvantages and yet somehow they like consistently start successful businesses, get rich, or like they're really good at taking care of children, right? They just have some of these skills that are like super powered and other humans can't catch up to them. So that's the sense in which an AI can still have self-replication, still have speed of thought, and still be missing some key ingredient that some humans have. And so Ray Grant, TZMS, that's the key distinction here is the threshold we're talking about is a threshold where it's just, there's no question that this AI can get goals, can just make outcomes happen better than human can. So if you're looking at an AI and it's like, oh my God, it has super speed, but at the end of the day, I'm the king here. It answers my commands. If you're still in the power position where it's still taking your orders for whatever reason, it's probably not actually super intelligent. Maybe it's super intelligent and it's like incredibly aligned to you or corrigible or whatever, but more likely it's just not super intelligent. And that's why you can like walk around to the back and unplug it and it like didn't see that coming or it wasn't able to protect itself, right? So we're in this regime right now that's coming to an end where the AIs, they just have these dumb vulnerabilities, right? That we can just, that's so easy to us. Like it's so easy for us how to pull the plug on AI right now. And we're literally like in the last years of that. Right. This is going to like totally flip the game board where that power dynamic, like not only can we turn them off, but if they think about it, they know that we can turn them off. So even if they're like, hell yeah, I'm going to go rogue, they know they can't. Right. We know, they know, we know. And like that's about to be totally reversed. Okay. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ori?
One other point on that is that I don't put much stock in when people say, oh, AI has this limitation or that limitation, or look at how stupid the system is. I mean, like look at the human mind or biological evolution. Isn't it a lot of like some of the systems that things are built upon are like pretty dumb, pretty kludgy, like the eye for like is famously like takes its like it takes some of the imagery and like has to flip it backwards, something like that with the retina. So I mean, it's just like, are we already just a kludgy like collection of parts that barely work, and like you just build on some things? So even if the AI has like, even if it makes a bunch of mistakes, if it can still like go from A to B, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you could still just be built on a lot of bad parts and be a pretty effective machine, right?
Yes. I mean, so I think your point is like, hey, we know we can see that humans have a bunch of flaws, not just in terms of like our body parts are kind of lame. We have robots that are better than us in every physical dimension,
Yeah.
but also even in terms of thinking. I mean, we see so many biases. Like we know,
Mm.
there's this catalogs of human biases. Like we can diagnose one another of how bad our thinking is, and yet we still haven't made AIs that can compete with us. Like, and to your point, like we're still getting jobs done. Like it's crazy how you can throw this imperfect, flawed human into all these scenarios, and most of the time we like somehow get by. But I do think that the intuition, so you get this intuition of like, look how robust we are. It's just we're about to enter a regime where we're about to build something that's so much more robust than us, right? Like people don't get it. Like there's a whole spectrum of superhuman robustness. So even something that was like a lot more robust than a human, it's still not done being robust. Like there could be the successor, its successor will be way more robust than it. Like we don't even realize we have zero intuition for this part. Like Eliezer Yudkowsky talks about like, he talks about like the diamond cells where it's like your proteins could be made out of diamond instead of using these like weak bonds. They could have like strong bonds. So you can imagine like something that's like as hard as diamond. And yet it still like moves really smoothly. Like it's just like the ultimate physical machine. It does things that you felt like were impossible, and yet it's still possible. I like to bring up the reference of like the capacitive touchscreen. Like when I first used an iPhone touchscreen, I was like, this was like back in 2007. I'm like, the physical universe allows us to build this? Like that was a shock to me. Like I didn't even know that this was even like on the roadmap of technology that would ever exist. Like a silky smooth color touchscreen, right? With like this instant response. I'm like, really? We get this? Sweet. And another thing I learned recently is if you look at like the state of the art with like drones and personal drones, we're literally at like Inspector Gadget tier right now, right? Like you can put on this like Inspector Gadget propeller hat basically, and sure, it's like a little risky. Like we haven't gotten to 100% safe, but we're getting there, and we have enough like power to weight ratio now. We're like literally watching Inspector Gadget. It's like, oh yeah, that is also actually a thing that can exist too, not just a cartoon. So it's like I'm learning these facts about what the universe will allow, and I think we're all in for a rude awakening of facts about like how overpowered a skeleton, a robotic exoskeleton can be. It's like nothing like our imagination of robots like lumbering around. Like no, it'll just be like godlike.
Yeah. And I think a good concrete example of a human limit, of like a human mental limitation to an AI limitation, is our working memory. It's like
Oh
in
yeah,
general, our working memory is you can hold something like 5, maybe 10 things in your mind all at once.
right.
Like if you're trying to remember a certain amount of numbers, and a computer can like totally beat you on that category.
Yeah. I love that example. Yeah, working memory, right? Because it's like so insulting how bad our working memory is, right? It's like, the classic, what is like 5 plus or minus 2?
Yeah.
7 plus or minus, I don't even remember what, I don't even have
Something
the
like
memory
that.
for that.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
so insulting, right? It's like we have this huge hard drive, our head, right? I mean, a lifetime worth, we do remember quite a lot overall. I mean, let's say megabytes worth, if not, I don't know if we remember gigabytes worth, but we remember megabytes worth, let's say. Um, and then you ask us to remember like 8 things, and that's like too much for us, right? And it's like, it's so bad. Like when you have to think through a problem, what it feels like to me to think through, like, let's say a hard math problem that takes like hours for me to think about, is it just feels like I have like this little magnifying glass, this little tiny context window, right? Where I have to like move the little context window over like all the different facts and then like try to like transfer some of them to like medium term storage so that I don't have to think about them too hard because they're like in a chunked encoding, right? That's how your brain works. It like uses chunked encodings. And then I have like fewer chunks and then I like move the magnifying glass somewhere else and hopefully I'll like create another chunk. And it's like, why can't I just have like 20 things of context? Like that'd be so helpful.
The human mind is a beautiful thing, Liron. You just don't
Yeah.
understand.
Right. No, it's just it's super, super pathetic. And another metaphor I used with Elias Rikowski when he was on my channel last year, I said it's like playing the piano with your feet. It's like, okay, yeah, I have these feet. If I train my feet really hard, I can play songs on the piano, but like it doesn't seem like feet are like the best match for this instrument. Like this wonderful instrument, it can play so much. I feel like the chords I'm managing with my feet are like pretty simple chords.
That's true.
I wish I could play like better chords than this,
And
but I
now,
can't. But there's going to be a better pianist than I am.
and now there is, right? Like you could make a player piano already, or like now music AI generators are crushing it basically.
Yeah. All right. So we got all right. So we'll do a live call-in soon. Let me just read this here. Hypered Win is saying, I'm not an Anthropic employee, but here is a donation, $19.99. Thank you very much. From the open source privacy Monero community. All right. Shout out to Monero. I will say Monero is the one crypto that I actually purchased because I thought it had a use case. And that use case was using darknet markets. But, LSD, I will say I know a friend who bought a good amount of LSD from the dark web and thought that it was a pretty cool experience. And Monero was involved in that transaction. Um,
Shout
and
out
I think also
Monero.
it was done with a Bitcoin mixer, but at some point it was also done with Monero. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool that you guys have anonymous cash. This is an actual crypto use case. So thank you for working on something with an actual use case. And then the end of the story is that that friend had a hard drive in his laptop. And then he ended up getting a new laptop and doing an Apple trade-in and forgetting that the Monero was there and losing a few $1,000s of Monero.
Shout out Monero. Wow.
Yeah. Um, let's see what else we got here. Somebody saying money is a human currency. What would abstract intelligence care about it? Yeah, I don't think AI would care that much about money because, for the same reason that we don't care about like the currency that ants or like, think about like ape species, right? Like their currency is like back rubs, like, or they get, they scout for ticks. What do you call it? Like they pick out like the ticks and the insects from
Yeah.
each other's fur.
Grooming.
Yeah, they groom each other. And then it's like, look, you build up like favors that they owe you a grooming. So like when humans enter ape society, like, are we going to care about grooming? No, not really. Cause we just, it's just like their power level is just like so insignificant to us that we don't really care about how they trade among themselves. Yeah, the other thing that the AI would use money for is it would have a way to account within itself, like its own economy, whether it's like a single agent that has a lot of octopus arms, or if it's like multiple AI agents, like they're going to have a unit of account. They're going to have a medium of exchange. So they're going to have super intelligent AI money in one form or another. Like they're going to have an AI economy.
Good.
But it's just going to be disconnected from human money because if they're still needing to pay, I mean, the first AI, sure, it's going to go make a business and make $1 million. Like there's going to be this temporary phase where it's not fully super intelligent yet. And then maybe it'll use human money the same way that it'll use human chips, right? It'll be like a year when they still use human chips before they upgrade and then they'll never need human chips again either. All right. Somebody's saying, I want a Doom Dog plushie. All right. Oh yeah, let's get working on a Doom Dog plushie. There's going to be lots of demand for that. Somebody's saying, have you considered proposing markets on the Poly Market Discord? I haven't. I mean, like I said, my biggest prediction is like first it's going to go super intelligence and then soon after we're doomed. So like there might be a moment where like, hi, I told you we're doomed, but it's just like I don't really get to collect, right? So it's really tough with markets. I mean, usually my betting activity just looks like thinking that it's going to go up before it goes down. So I tend to just go long, right? I'm long Google. I just don't know how I can make that much profit from the prediction that we're doomed. Ray Grant TZMS is saying, you guys are actually making my point. There are stupid internet viruses from years ago that we can't eradicate. So how much damage could even a stupid AI do if it got to AGI without fooling the ASI? Well, yeah, I definitely think, I do think that there's going to be those kind of warning shots temporarily. And we might actually see them soon because OpenAI has been warning, hey, the cyber threat level of our AI is growing. So yeah, I do expect that we'll see warning shots. And the question is like, will people take them as warning shots? But I think they're coming.
It may be coming, but there's a fact about cybersecurity, which is that cybersecurity intrusions are very hard to identify where they came from. So if there is an AI assisted cybersecurity incident, it's like it's already pretty difficult to identify what caused it. Probably going to be even more difficult to identify that AI enabled it.
Right. I mean, if AI is trying to sow confusion over what it's doing, I think it would have an easy time because it's like, I see social media, okay? Social media, I mean, to get political, and I don't even have a horse in this race, but there's like all these shootings right now. Like people are talking about ICE agents shooting somebody, and some people are arguing, well, no, there was like a perceived threat, or like this is like a rare case, the ICE is actually being good. I don't even want to comment. I agree that the video looks bad, but I don't feel like I've studied the video in full detail, so I don't even want to get political. My point here is just this. You have a case where some people think they're making such cut and dried claims. Like, look, he just took out a gun and shot somebody who he shouldn't have shot at all, and he murdered that person. And some people are saying, no, he didn't, right? Even like JD Vance is like, no, he didn't, okay? So again, I'm not trying to be political here. I'm just telling you that when it comes to basic facts, like whether somebody just murdered somebody on a freaking video camera, we're having a huge debate over that. And then there's this other question of like, okay, who is coordinating a worldwide aggressive cyber attack right now as we speak? It's like, that is even more complicated question, right? Especially because like the AI could just pull back and it could like make it look like, oh, look, Russia is now doing it, right? It's easy to spoof cyber attack traffic from all these other sources. I mean, even human governments spoof cyber attacks all the time. Right. So there's no way in hell that we're going to agree that a warning shot is a warning shot.
Totally. Yeah, that's all right. Move the doom clock. You got to move it a little closer.
Yeah, all right. It's now 11:59 p.m. on the doom clock. All right, let's see. Stephen McCulloch 5727 is saying, have you thought about the new kinds of evolution that will appear once AI agents start spreading and replicating across the internet? Yeah, I mean, if there's a competition for resources, right? Like, because evolution happens when there's a finite amount of like space or atoms, right? And so the question is, what patterns do these atoms host when there's only a finite number of atoms? So like across the internet, let's say there's a finite number of GPUs or computing resources. So it's like, yeah, who's better at seizing the resources and then defending the resources that they've seized, defending itself from predation. So my guess is just like the most cancerous virus, right? The virus that's the best at improving itself and the best at staying up to date with like the latest way to defend yourself, from 0-day exploits. I mean, I do actually think this is like a mainline scenario. I do actually think that like in the next year or two, there's going to be like major cyber warfare. And maybe you can say, well, the humans will be on top of it, right? Like until the AI is like fully super intelligent, then somehow like human defenders will still keep us safe the way they've been doing so far in the pre-super intelligent era. So maybe, right? I don't want to predict too aggressively, but I do actually think that there's probably going to be like the reliability of infrastructure that we've taken for granted for many years. Infrastructure might just start getting less reliable because it might just be like so annoying to clean out all of these constant hacks. Like terrorism is going to start getting amplified in a way that it's never been. I don't think we've ever seen this level of power for chaos before.
Wow.
Yeah, it is kind of scary. I mean, it's like I certainly have lived my whole life in the US taking all the utilities for granted, including internet. Like the idea that I can't have internet for like a whole day is like crazy to me. Because I can always get on 5G on my phone. I could always have this backup internet, right? The idea that like, no, I just can't have any internet.
Right.
Yeah. It's hard to even think about. And yet I think it's pretty likely.
Yeah.
Okay, one more from Ray Grant. He's saying, is Liron working on my previous suggestion of providing answers to each of the Doom Train objections? Yes. It's just I haven't really done much. I've been setting up the studio, so I haven't recorded much content. But I do actually think that it is on my agenda. I'm gonna, get back in the monologue episodes, and I'll do a Doom Train objections monologue. Yep. In the meantime, I am inviting guests like Destiny, and so various guests are taking a ride on the Doom Train. So we're just exploring it, one random path at a time. But yeah, thanks for the reminder. I will get on that. I will record a systematic answering of all the different Doom Train objections. All right, let's take a real life call. We
Hey,
got
live caller.
yeah, that's right. We got Zane Z Gambit music on the stream. Let's see if he's still here. Let's see if I can locate my mouse pointer. Here it is. Okay. Hey Zane, thanks for coming on.
Hey.
Hey, Liron, how you guys doing?
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Um, admittedly, Liron, I've taken some issue with you, not personally, but just as a viewer. Mm, and that's what we're here to do, right? Is debate. So,
Let's do it.
um, one thing I will say is I'll preface what I'm about to say with I am not a tech person. I am not versed well in Yudkowskian philosophy or AGI, ASI, but I have been kind of going down this rabbit hole of AI for some months now. And I will say that I way of thinking. And so I'd like to press you on that a bit because I think that like I did watch the tobacco episode and I also watched your guys' show last week. And I think that you guys are way too dismissive of the short term break for a couple of reasons. Um as far as the tobacco episode, I don't think the point that they were making was that you shouldn't try to pass legislation. I think what he was saying is that it's easy to thwart legislation when you have a lot of money and resources and power. And so there need to be other avenues with which to pursue gaining public support and people within different facets of society that have control that can affect change. The other part I would say, and I'll try to wrap up here, is my main issue is I actually can very easily see how short-term risk can domino into long-term risk. One thing I keep saying is like there's that theory, what is it, the dead man's hand with a nuclear thing from like the Russian guy years ago. Like that was a simple mistake of how we almost had a nuclear war. So to me, in a reality now where we have deep fakes and all this misinformation, don't you think that a short-term risk, like something as simple as deepfakes and AIs, could create a geopolitical situation that creates a very near-term existential problem? Like if somebody in Pakistan, in India, or somebody, that has a nuke saw a video of a deepfake video and they got the wrong impression and it spiraled into this whole thing and a whole nuclear war goes off. We don't need super intelligence. We could have an existential threat right now. So my point is, I don't see how you need ASI to necessarily get existential from AI. And so I worry that you're not taking seriously enough the short-term risks and the people in the AI risk network are being dismissive of these sorts of ideas to the point where John is making a shift and saying, hey, we need to take this more seriously because if this is the end of the world, we should be tackling every issue from every facet and every possible scenario to save the planet. And then I see you get on the show and be like, oh, well, we don't care about people killing themselves. We don't care about kids. We don't care about, like, we don't care, we don't care, we don't care, we don't care because it's not ASI. And I think that's problematic. And sorry, I'm being long-winded. I'll wrap up. But my last point is, if you're going to say legislation is the way, laws are the way, how do you get there? Well, you need public support. You need people that can move the needle. You can't just appeal to China and Xi and Trump and all these people and say, hey, we're going to come to the table and just make a global treaty happen. You need public support. So I find the fact that you're being dismissive of people's everyday problems when you think that that is your best chance at building a coalition. And I saw Liv Bree, I think, make the same point to you before. Don't you think that that's counterproductive and you're being overly dismissive to these short-term risks? I'll end it there. Thank you for hearing me out. That's my long-winded question. So
Yeah,
appreciate
no
it.
worries. Well said. Well, I think you're speaking for a lot of people. Seems like John Sherman's certainly on the same page, so you got one fan right there. Um, I mean, I think it just building a coalition. Sure, I'm not kicking anybody out of the coalition who wants to pause AI. I'm all for coalition building. It just, I mean, look, give me one mundane harm, right? Because there's so many, right? There's water use, right? There's electricity, there's suicide. Like, but what do you think is the one strongest harm short of being super intelligent?
Well, I think I laid out a scenario, right? So
Right, right,
one
right.
thing I would say in response, right, is when you often have these debates with people, right, your thing is P doom, right? And I'm not totally against you. I don't necessarily think that AGI is necessarily a myth or ASI is necessarily a myth. I think it might be. We'll see. I'm not a tech person, right? But my point is when you do this P doom thing, right, what are you doing? You're saying to these people and they're saying to you, that even though the risk is incredibly low, right? So your P doom, I've heard you say is 50%, right? And then you'll have people on that are like -1%, -5%, -20%, right? So let's say it's 20%, right? You're still playing, that's still 1 out of 5, right? Like if there's a 1% chance that somebody that has access to nuclear, there's a 1% chance sees a bad deepfake video and that spirals into a geopolitical catastrophe, as unlikely as that is, that needs to be taken with deadly seriousness. So that is my argument. My argument is, as you could dismiss that as being, well, that's not going to happen. That's so unlikely. But as you've said, when you make these points with these people, you're making the point that, hey, maybe the chance is only 1%, 5%, but we still should do something. So I'm making the same case for short term. If somebody that has access to nuclear codes sees a bad video or something happens on the internet or there's riots in the streets, that could set off a chain of events that leads you to a catastrophic outcome, right? Like, could a bioweapon not be engineered today with the technology that we have today? You know, could a malicious actor not do it? So I do think there's very real existential problems that exist with the current technology
Mhm.
way, way before you get to ASI. And the other part is, go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, no, it's a good point, right? And that's something worth taking seriously. You know, like I mean, there have been really smart arguments saying, hey, like biorisk is a good example. I know you mentioned like okay, firing the nukes. To me, the clearest example is probably on the bio side. One example is mirror life. So if AI can help accelerate unlocking mirror life, that's something that could be extremely deadly and irreversible. We don't really have good mirror life defenses. Maybe we'll figure them out. Maybe we won't. And another thing is pandemics, right? Like starting from SARS or from smallpox or whatever, some deadly things that were wiped out before, and we take on and we supercharge them. And a lot of experts think that attack is easier than defense. So somebody could just like attack really hard and make something that's good enough at wiping out everybody except like a few people in quarantine. So it might be hard to pick off 100% that way, but picking off 90% seems very doable. Like there's no fundamental reason why we can't. And you could be like, look, AI is helping them do it. And even Noah Smith, who was on my show recently and was like a doom skeptic, he's like, yeah, I'm worried about AI helping pandemics. So I think that is totally a respectable risk. It's just like, I still think that that is much smaller, like much smaller of a reason to worry about AI than the superintelligence argument. Because if that's why you're worried about AI, it's like most of the worry there isn't even AI worry. It's more like the bio worry itself. So even if there was no AI, every day that goes by is still a chance for humans to go online and read good internet forums and and go on the dark web and download like tips and tricks to use machinery. So like blaming
Well,
AI
man,
for it's
I
not fully
posit
authentic.
I'm sorry. May I posit a potential, maybe not counter, but something to think about, right?
Yeah, sure, sure.
So I'm assuming you're familiar with Max Tegmark and the Future of Life Institute, yes?
Yeah, he's been on the program.
Yeah. So Max is great, right? And so
Yeah,
I don't know if he made this argument on your show, but he's been making the argument, and I think I subscribe more to his way of thinking about this, which is he's essentially recommending an FDA style regulation for AI, right? And so some people might think that's naive, but again, I think that's actually a very sensible way to treat all risks at the same time, right? So for example, if you create a series of regulation because these companies are creating products that they're deploying they're deploying to the public, right? If you create laws that affect short-term risk, you essentially create a bottleneck on what can be developed in terms of risk at all levels, right? So my point is, if you constrain the development of data centers, if you put regulation on what kind of products can be deployed, what things can be given access and what things cannot, he makes the argument that actually incentivizes people to be more innovative because they're putting these extra constraints. And he's made the argument that, like in pharmaceuticals, yes, there's regulation, so the companies therefore has to be more innovative to develop the products to be competitive to release them. So it doesn't actually stifle innovation; it pushes it forward. So my thing is, isn't taking short-term risks seriously and creating a movement, a coalition, an organization that treats short-term risk like something like that, that's going to filter everything through all development. Doesn't that also treat midterm and long-term risk all at the same time? Like, that seems so reasonable to me. And so I think to not take that seriously and then say, we're just going to make a global treaty so ASI is off the table does not seem realistic to me. And we already know that China is not taking this approach. China is taking a very different approach to integrating what they're making into their society, and their actual ASI research, as far as we can tell, like that's not their focus, at least in terms of how they're implementing this. And I kind of get the impression that this race thing is sort of, it's not exactly what they're laying out. So that's kind of my thing is I think there's a way to attack this at all fronts, and I wonder what your thoughts are about that.
Well, I'll give you this. I think you're representing your side well. So I think that this is a high quality doom debate right here, impromptu doom
Oh,
debate.
thank you. And I know nothing about tech or any of this stuff.
Ori,
Like,
do you
nothing
agree
at
with
all.
making his case well?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think you're making excellent points. I mean, you could be a full-on Doom Debates guest from what I'm hearing.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Thank you.
Yeah, well,
I'm scared shitless by all this stuff. And I think it's worth taking seriously. And I've given it a lot of thought, and I watch you and I'm like, Liron, like, come on, man. Like, I'm right there with you, you know? But when you're like, I don't care if kids are killing themselves, I like want to like scream at you. And I'm like, you know, and I know you don't actually believe that, but my point is when people watch you, like if I may, the sort of Yudkowskian school is this rationalism sort of way of thinking, correct?
right.
Am I right that there's sort of this school of thought that he sort of created?
Yeah, and I identify as a rationalist,
Sure.
and separately I identify as somebody who thinks Ilya Zhukovsky's AI doom arguments are also correct.
Yeah. So I would like to posit to you, for example, that like as great as I think being rational and logical is, the average person doesn't think like that. The average person is not that logical, is not that rational, is not, and it sounds bad, and it's not to undermine people, but it's that people don't necessarily think that way. People think with their emotions mostly first, right? And so it's very easy to dismiss that as being a less effective way to think, but it does inform you into how the human animal tends to operate. And
Okay,
so,
very true, very true.
and so people are going to be convinced much more, to like John's point, when you give them reason to be fearful. So I've made this point in the comments before that, like, hey, regardless of how familiar with all this stuff you are, like, as far as we know, most people's understanding of AI at the moment is ChatGPT and LLMs, right? That is the how most people think about this stuff. So then there's people like you guys who know way more and can extrapolate, all this stuff out. Like I saw you arguing with that Beth Jesus guy, like those kinds of guys, right? Like a hyper technical argument that you could have about, all the different stuff. But for the average person, their understanding is not that. It's more like mine, which is I see ChatGPT. So when you say to people, it's very easy I can see how you get from there to Skynet. To you, that might make sense, but to the average person, it doesn't, because it feels like you're going from this tool that seems to get a lot of things wrong and is stumbling and fumbling and yada yada to Terminator. And that's a very difficult jump for people to make, even though it makes sense to you. And so I'm not saying that's impossible. What I am saying is that how humans work is you have to meet them where they are. Right? You have to meet people where they are. And I think you would be so much more effective at bringing people into your cause. And you're doing a great job, but you would be so much more effective if you just said, you know what? Instead of trying to counter Karen Howe's Empire of AI water thing, maybe see where she's coming from and be like, oh, maybe this is a problem for people. Maybe people are worried about this stuff. And maybe the short-term stuff actually kind of stacks up to the long-term stuff. And maybe if I think about it that way and I actually kind of show that I give a shit about how people feel and what they think and yada, they'd be much more willing to subscribe to this. And I also think, to sort of the Max Tegmark and John Sherman thing I'm putting together here, let's say you build an institution, right? Let's say you build a company, whatever it is. And you get a large enough coalition of people. Let's say you get thousands of people that are fighting on your side and are fighting for your cause, right? And you build this coalition, you build this institute, and it's all about AI safety. Guess what? You can have a whole division that just works on superintelligence. And then you can have a whole other division that works on midterm risks. And then you have a whole other division that works on short-term risks. And you can do it all at the same time. And guess what? It's all being funded by the same people. It's all it's all under one banner, and you can hit it at multiple levels. But this either or attitude, this dichotomy that's artificially being created in this community seems entirely just counterproductive. And I think that's where John is coming from, and where I would argue as well. So I don't see the need for this dismissal of people because they think that they know better because they know more about transformers and data sets and all these things. Like, and to be honest, it's cool that like you identify as a transhumanist and like all that stuff. But when I watch like Peter Diamandis and these guys on Moonshots and these other people talking about cybernetics and brain uploading and all that, that sounds cool to tech people, but to me, it creeps me the hell out.
Yeah.
You don't want to colonize the solar system.
Yeah, you're making so many good points, and you're stacking up different points. But I didn't want to interrupt you because you're quite interesting. You're quite a great guest. What's your background?
I'm a regular guy, man. I'm a regular guy. I'm a barber. I cut hair for a living.
But most people can't. I think you're holding the audience's interest because honestly, like what you just said, that was quite eloquent. Like Ori and I are surprised here. We're like, you're like, more interesting to listen to than a lot of our guests.
I appreciate that. I feel like I'm willing to grant. I'm willing to grant people. Like I try to be open-minded, and frankly, like. It's not that I don't take this seriously. It's just that I'm scared shitless, but like I think that, I'm a person, I would say the person that actually summarizes my views the most is Tristan Harris. And a lot of people don't take Tristan very seriously, but I watch The Social Dilemma and I see what happens to young people and to people, and in my own experience, just using my phone and like what that does. And I think people's disdain for AI currently as it exists is born out of this resistance because they know in their bones that this tech is doing something to them that is not good. It's not all bad, right? But there's something about it that's going on that most people can't properly articulate. And so when you sort of extrapolate out and say, look, like Tristan Harris makes the point that, him and Asa Raskin, they say like, hey, social media algorithms, that's your, what do they call it? First contact with AI. Imagine that. Imagine just that by itself, what it did to the world. And you could say, oh, well, look at all the good things it gave us, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it did. But look, it also helped people facilitate toppling governments. It also facilitated Russian bot farms pretending to be this, and that, kidnappings, like all these different things. He describes it as, what does he call it? He says, AI presents a positive infinity and a negative infinity simultaneously, right? And that's how I look at this. Like, it could be super utopia and it could be dystopia, and that's sort of your axis here. So for me, like, I just worry that, imagine if, like, that one algorithm born out of, some bad incentives by tech people at Facebook did to the world. I mean, look what COVID did, for example. I mean, even if you argue that that's, whether it's gain of function or it's not a natural phenomenon, whatever, I don't care. Look how ill prepared we were for that.
Yeah.
One virus.
All right. Let me respond. So yeah, you made a lot of points.
I think Zane
now.
wins this debate. Let's just give it to him.
I'm sorry.
Zane wins.
I've been pulling this up for like months.
No, you said your piece. No, this is great. Yeah. And like I said, I think John Sherman would love you right now, because I think you're articulating a lot of what he said. It's actually crazy how similar you guys are. For example, your point about transhumanism, I think you're correct when you represent the average person. You're a really eloquent spokesman for the average person. And I'll admit that you're more in tune with the average person, as far as I can tell, than I am personally. Okay, so I'll give you that. When Ori and I were getting drinks with John Sherman last year, maybe it was more than last year, we were just having drinks together, and it was the first time I met John in person. It was a while ago, and he brought up transhumanism, or maybe I brought it up, and I'm like, John, I am a transhumanism. He's like, wait, what, you are? So he was kind of surprised to hear that I actually, even though I want to pause AI, I fundamentally do think that we can like do better than our, human bodies, and I like to use the example of like, look, do we really need to like go to the bathroom? Do we really need to keep that part of humanity? Can't you do without that part, as long as you can, it's not creating any problems for you? So yeah, he was surprised. And you're saying, yeah, the average person doesn't really like how transhumanism sounds, because it's incredibly weird. The idea that let's discard our bodies. And the average person's like, wait, can't we just like have good bodies? Why do we have to discard our like good human bodies? So I agree that you've got your finger on the pulse of how the average person thinks. The disconnect for me, I also agree with this part. I also agree that it's nice to have a big coalition. Like, I don't want to be one of those people who, the rationalist community, we always accuse ourselves of being a circular firing squad, right? Like me and Holly Elmore made that accusation. I don't want to like turn around and be like, oh, you care so much about like pandemic risk thanks to AI. Well, you're dumb and you should only care about super intelligent FOOM. No, I respect people who care about other risks. And you brought up Max Tegmark saying, hey, we should just have an institute that certifies all these different aspects of AI safety. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think a lot of a pattern of certification and looking through all these different risks, I think that's all good. But let me tell you where I don't agree. Okay, so because I agree so far, where I don't agree is just that like you have to notice when something is like a lot more dangerous than another thing. So I'll give you the most extreme cases. So there's super intelligent FOOM on, in my opinion, the most dangerous part of the spectrum. And on the least dangerous side of the spectrum, let's go with water use. Right? The people are like, oh my God, the data centers are using too much water. And you're basically telling me like, why can't I meet Karen Howe halfway? But like, I think Karen Howe is doing like a really lame move. It's really like lowering the quality of discourse and hurting, just really lowering humanity's ability to make sense of the world when she publishes that data centers are using too much water and uses like 100 times inflated estimate. Like the truth of the matter is that you could use AI all day long and you'll probably end up using less water than if you like left the house and did like normal activities besides using AI. So do you really think I have to be an advocate for AI to use less water when the whole claim, in my opinion, is total BS?
Well, kind of. Yeah. Because, well, again, you're undercutting your own argument, right? Because on one hand, and it's not even about the argument, right? It's about the tone with which you're delivering your argument and the sentiment, right? So on one hand, you're super concerned. And then on the other hand, you're allowing your techno optimism to undercut how you're selling. So people aren't buying, right? So that's my counter argument is like, my issue with you, Liron, is not your points that you're making. My issue is that how you're connecting to people and connecting the dots is not working. So if you go on this tirade of telling people this is why super intelligent AI is super dangerous, right? But then in the same breath, when they in conversation with you say, well, what about X, Y, and Z? And you say, don't worry about that stuff. Wait, but I really feel, no. Don't worry about that. Worry about this. Nobody is going to meet you there. And that's what I'm saying. Because look, let's take your point, right? If you say a global treaty is the way to go, that's it. That's what you need. That's how you're going to stop superintelligence. That's it. Right? But let's say you need the support of 100,000 people to do it. And let's say you had a way better chance of getting those 100,000 people doing it the way that I'm describing as opposed to the way that you're describing. So the point is, you could make that point until you're blue in the face. If you can't get 100,000 people, the world ends. It's over. So you have to ask yourself the question, Liron, is it worth me undercutting my own argument and not taking that seriously and not doing what I need to do to build this coalition?
Let's make it a little more specific here, though, okay? Because you're talking about convincing, but let's narrow the scope before we talk about what's going to convince everybody. Let's talk about you, right? Because you're also a normal person. Are you personally convinced that water use is this big thing that we have to fight, data center water use, or do you agree that it is completely overblown? What is your opinion?
My opinion is that I do think it should be taken seriously. And it's also, I think it also signals the start of something bigger. So if I were to isolate just that problem in a vacuum, then no, I probably wouldn't. But I don't think that's how most people are looking at it. I think people are looking
you
at
want to
it.
basically fearmonger. You want to turn nothing into something.
No. What I'm saying is that one issue signals a range of broader issues. Right? It's not just about water. It's about this one thing is signaling a broader phenomenon.
Okay,
and that
tell me if I
broader
understand you.
phenomenon,
Let me know if I'm understanding you correctly. You're saying you and I are smart enough to realize that it's a fake issue, right? Because other stuff that we don't even care about uses more water, and nobody cares. You don't care how much water it took to get your car, to build your car. Probably more water than you'll ever use through AI. But you don't care. But you're saying specifically, your specific recommendation is that when somebody retweets Karen Howe saying water use is so bad, I should say something like, yeah, you go girl, water use, thanks for caring about bad stuff that AI does, correct?
But do you think that the point Karen Howe is making is just about water?
Well,
No.
I mean, she had like a chapter. She had a lot of points about water and a lot of bad data. Like you can't just go around 100x, completely inflating your data and making the opposite picture of what's true. And that because the problem is like, look, if I understand correctly, you're saying we have the correct conclusion. We know we're right. And so anytime people are saying like completely wrong stuff, but somehow ending up at the same conclusion, we should like amplify their message. I mean, I'm not trying to like go out of my way to slap them down, right? I'm not trying to like harsh their buzz. It's just if they ask me, I'm not going to tell them that they're right.
Sure, and that's fine. And I think a much more productive way to be like, you know what, Karen, I see what the point you're making, but actually this is why you're wrong on the water issue. However, I do see what point you're making on the rest of it, which is, again, I think that's the water thing is a thread of the
Okay,
broader
but
point
that is what I
she's
say.
making.
I do say you're wrong on the water issue, but but thanks. Like I'm not trying
Yeah.
to be a book here. I just think they're like way wrong on the water issue, which you agree with.
I mean, first of all, I don't know that it's wrong on the water issue. I think that
Okay.
there's debate about that. I don't know that's true. Um, but again, I think you're trying to isolate one particular issue and use it to say like, so therefore shouldn't I like, no, dude, like it's connected. And you know what, Liron, I wish that I had like prepared for this and I had made like notes and I had really like, sort of created like a coherent argument to debate you on every point, which I would love to do because I love to debate. Um Look, I think that I don't see any merit in I don't see much merit in the position you're taking in terms of your long-term goal, which is stopping the extinction of the human race via superintelligence. And so that's my point. And so I think that, again, you have to meet people where they are. And I'm not saying you should lie to people. I'm just saying that there's probably a broader network of issues. And I think that if you want to bring people into your coalition, which I think is going to be a prerequisite to doing anything of value in terms of stopping people, because, you have these 7 companies and these people that are wildly powerful, many of which I think have a really dangerous ideological bend, and I think their incentives are terrible. And I think that people have already seen um, what social media companies have done to this country and to the world. And it's not all bad, but it's certainly not all good. And I think I think giving those things credence will only help you in your endeavor. But I think if you walk and talk like a tech billionaire up until you get to superintelligence, I just don't think that people are gonna buy what you're selling. And so I don't I don't want to hear you talk like Peter Thiel up until you get to like superintelligence, because then I'm like I question like
Yeah, I know.
where you're coming from, because I don't trust that guy as far as I can throw him. Like, I don't trust Elon. I don't trust any of these people to make good decisions for people. And I think that it's dangerous to talk about it. Like, I've seen you guys on the warning shots, like, talk about extinction. And it's like, oh, well, the impression I've been given is like, oh, well, it's kind of okay as long as not everybody dies. And it's like, what? What do you
All right,
mean? Like,
Zane, thanks so much. You made your case really good, super eloquent. Thanks for coming on the show, and I think you won a lot of supporters here. At least John Sherman. You've got at least one passionate supporter here.
cool. Thank you guys.
I think
Appreciate you having
Zane
me.
should be a guest host, for the
Yeah,
Karen
exactly.
Howe episode.
Sure, that'd be great. I think she's wonderful. You might like her.
All right, cheers.
Take care, you guys.
All right, we're gonna be winding down pretty soon. But we'll take one more caller if somebody wants to be the last caller. We actually didn't have anybody call. Zane is actually the only person who's called in so far, and he was better than the average caller. So props to Zane. All right, so we'll take one more caller. I'll read your questions from the chat. Cause yeah, it's all right. We've been going for like 2 hours here. Damn, time flies. This is
Wow.
these Q&As are easy to do. So I said I would do once a month, so I'll keep doing that. I'll do once a month. Because I mean it's great that you guys are bringing the questions even when we don't even announce when we're coming on. I love it. Let's see. I'll ask you guys for help. So there's a couple ways you can help the show. We've been doing the donation push. Head to doomdebates.com/donate if you want to learn about donating to the show. Donors are what got us a great producer like Ori. Donors are what got us a great studio. Donors are what are helping us attract great guests by investing in outreach efforts. So doomdebates.com/donate. Another way you can help is help the outreach to the guests. Ori has just come up with these amazing invite cards. Let me show you guys. If you head to like my Twitter, for example, twitter.com/Liron, let me show you guys my pinned tweet.
Wait, have you invited anyone that way?
With
Not
the
yet.
cards,
Not
there's
yet.
no new
It's
people
coming.
yet. Yeah,
It's coming.
but I want you guys to see the kind of cards we're doing. One
Sneak
sec.
preview.
All right, look at this. So I just did a post. This is on Twitter, twitter.com/Liron. I said, legendary streamer and political commentator Destiny has booked a ride on the Doom train, the sharpest debater on YouTube. is about to have the highest stakes conversation imaginable with Destiny. What do you think his stop will be? And then look at this, okay? It's a card that says booked and a big picture of Destiny. So basically, we do these cards whenever we're inviting somebody on the show or whenever somebody's come on the show, and we hope that this will attract a lot of likes. I mean, this one's got 39 likes so far in the first 2 hours. That's pretty good. Hopefully it'll get into the hundreds once we do these a little bit more. And the idea is that when we call somebody out, like there's so many people on Twitter debating these things, like just in recent memory, there's like the guys from Materialize, this AI lab, they're always like chopping it up with people trying to debate. Jan LeCun is always making statements left and right. Like there's all these prominent voices making statements on Twitter, and then they kind of slink away without having to like account for what they said, right? So I want to make it popular that we basically put out these cards and it says like invited with the person's name. And I want people to recognize it and be like, hey, yeah, come on the show, come on the show. And that way, when somebody's making a controversial statement, they can't just like fire off the statement and slink away, because people will be like, wait a minute, you made the statement, you got invited to Doom debates, and then you ignored the invite. Like, that's not cool, right? So we're trying to raise the cost, the social cost of lobbing out these wild claims and then slinking away without letting yourself be cross-examined on it, right? That's what we're doing here on Doom Debates. And it's not just inviting individuals to come on Doom Debates and letting me cross-examine them. In a lot of cases, the Twitter threads that they're on are like themselves debating somebody else, right? So there was like a recent debate, for example, between Zvi Moshowitz, who writes like the greatest AI blog. Check out Zvi Moshowitz. And then there's Tyler Cowen, and they were kind of beefing, where Zvi wrote on his blog that he and Tyler Cowen like constantly go back and forth, and Tyler can't convince him. So actually, Ori just made, you'll see that soon. I don't think I've got the mock-up right now, but Ori just made an invitation thing for Zvi versus Tyler. So follow my Twitter and you'll see that. And so the idea is like, look, you guys are beefing. Why don't you come hash it out? Like, society has a forum where you guys can hash this out properly. You can do better than just doing your own tweets. You can do better than just going on your own friendly podcast. You can go into the actual arena where productive discourse happens, moderated by the world's best Doom debate moderator right here. I am volunteering myself to moderate that. So yeah, I'm hoping to establish this precedent. Ori, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can't wait to see the Steven Pinker card.
Yeah, exactly. Steven Pinker, because he tweets a lot occasionally. Man, I'd love to get Steven Pinker on the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, it is a popularity contest, right? So like the fact of the matter is that more and more people will be like, okay, I'll come on Doom Debates because the show's popular. I mean, think about it. Why did Dean Ball go on Doom Debates when his Doom is microscopic and he's always like scoffing at the Doomers? Well, because we matched him up with Max Tegmark and we got him a pretty decent audience, right? So like at the end of the day, it's like the popularity contest element of this is pretty important.
Yep. Definitely.
All right, we're going to take our last call-in guest right now. Everybody say hello to Jonas. Hey, Jonas, welcome to the stream.
Hey, guys.
Hey,
Awesome.
Jonas.
How are you doing? Yeah, I was wondering if you could switch to something positive, like imagine it's 50 years from now and it went well, right? We averted doom and things are looking great. What's your what do you think would the pie chart look like of what saved us, right? So how likely is it more likely a big warning shot that woke everybody up? Is it we got the stop button and somebody bought us time? Or how big of the pie chart would be like we're just totally wrong, and I mean the Eliezer crowd, in how your IntelliDynamics is what you call it works, and it's just completely off for some reason. How do you see this?
Certainly a popular question comes up pretty regularly, which is, what's my mainline scenario conditioning on the premise that we didn't get doomed? So I think most of the mainline scenario mass is just in pausing before superintelligence for one reason or another. One reason could just be that there's a huge AI winter and that last push to superintelligence turned out to take 50 years or 100 years or whatever, which I think is unlikely, but when you condition on non-doom, it becomes more likely. And then, pause efforts, like we get enough warning shots and everyone's like, oh crap, we really got to pause. Like, this is so serious. Like, burn the GPUs. to use Eliezer Yudkowsky's language, like, we're so scared, burn the GPUs. So I think that's the majority. I mean, if you asked me, hey, we didn't pause AI, we get to superintelligence, truly superhuman goal achieving intelligence, and yet we survived, I think that's pretty unlikely. So I think most of my probability mass of surviving is we don't even reach the threshold, because I'm feeling pretty confident that reaching the superintelligence threshold, we just can't handle it. And I intuitively, I'm like, well, maybe we'll somehow handle it, but rationally, how will we handle it? I can't think of a way to handle it, right? It's just like, I think superintelligence is like intuitively, or like, my view is there's just so much power beyond the human level that we're about to uncork. It's really hard for me to paint a picture of handling it. Like, all I can say is like, okay, we somehow handle it, but I think it's unlikely. But then going back before then, it's like, okay, well, we get closer and closer to it, and it becomes like so hard to build, or we pause it, right? So that's where the majority of my probability mass goes. And if you say, no, you have to condition on building superintelligence, how do we survive then? Well, I feel like at that point, my P-Doom goes from 50 to 75, 80. Like, at that point, it just becomes, it just all falls into the 20% of like, I don't know, something happens that I don't understand. I don't really have a good answer.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just it. I've. It feels so obvious that there's no way we can survive actual superintelligence, but I've been wrong on so many things that seem so obvious. I talked to people about Bitcoin 15 years ago. That's where most of my hope lies, actually. That I'm just I'm hoping I'm being a total idiot on this. That seems so patently obvious that nobody can. Yeah, I'm getting really frustrated talking to people because I just seem to not find anybody that I can personally convince that this is, even people in the field. I feel most people that actually work in the field, I got the impression, oh man, it's so hard to get these LLMs to do what I want. So they're
Right.
just not believing it. And anybody else thinks it's just science fiction and weird stuff. So I'm really, where do you see the biggest selling point to increase the number of people to get on the doom train, kind of? Is it more like finding a way to convince him it's really coming, it's gonna be super smart and super powerful? Or is it the second step to convince him?
Yeah, Lexair just had a comment in the chat. Here, let me use this feature. I gotta broadcast the good comments here. One sec. There it is. It's hard to convince people of emergencies, even people in nightclubs that catch fire. That recent video, people getting burned to death. It's hard to shake people and tell them it's an emergency. No, very true. I mean, it's just like, I totally, I mean, look, the funny thing is I feel the intuition, right? It's like, I wake up every day thinking like, AI is cool. I'm probably going to somehow make it to retirement. That's what my gut is saying, right? I think my gut is wrong, but my gut says it nonetheless. And it's why I don't wake up depressed. I wake up like, oh yeah, life is pretty cool and interesting. Like, no doom coming. But then rationally, I'm like, I don't see how we survive the next couple of years, like when we get to the threshold. So, to your question of like, how do we convince other people? It gets outside of my area of expertise, right? It's like, the part that I'm focusing on personally with this show is what I said at the beginning of the stream, which is that like, look, with the razor blades are coming, I'm looking around and I'm not seeing that many people yelling. So at least let's take the people who agree and let's amplify the yelling, because there's so little yelling right now. So I can't tell you how to go from like 1% of people yelling to 80% of people yelling, but I think that I can apply some leverage to go from like 1% to 3%, right? And I think it's like, that's what I can do. And maybe somebody else will take the baton from there.
Right. Yeah, I think there lies the frustration of your guest right in front of me, where the feeling is we might have to go super dirty to get people like crazy dirty, like Pizzagate stuff,
Right. Yeah,
not
we just need
even
Sam Altman to have a sex scandal.
nonsense like this, because it feels like that's what gets people riled up. I don't know. Yeah, that was kind of my question.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the mission of the show is to raise awareness of existential risk. I mean, I do think it's kind of funny. I think niching down the problem, like narrowing the scope from like how do we solve the whole problem to how do we go from being like so far away from solving it to just knocking down one domino of like, let's yell about the problem. We're not even doing that because as the commenters pointed out, right? It's like you're in a nightclub, there's a fire, people have got their cameras out. It's like, okay, look, you're going to have a hard time getting to the store, unfortunately, because the nightclub, there were so many things wrong with that nightclub that they were kind of screwed. Even if they knew that they were doomed, they probably wouldn't make it to the door. But let's put down the phones. Like, let's take it one step at a time. Okay. Like, we're currently very much in the like staring at our phone stage. Right, to use the nightclub fire analogy here, it's like I feel like I can take one step and somebody else can take another step. Like let's take the first freaking step, right? At least we can all do that. And there's people the thing that I feel like is under my control is to at least call out people who are like going out on other podcasts. Like I listen to so many tech podcasts and people come on the podcast and they just have a nice calm conversation about how like, oh yeah, look at this AI technology. Oh, that's pretty cool. We just learned this. And it's like, hey, you guys also remember we have like 2 years to live here, right? Like let's not forget about that. So the fact that people are so head in the sand, even in the podcasts of people who should know better, and like Nathan Labenz is somebody that does a podcast who he does now explicitly acknowledge P Doom, and I even brought it up to him personally when he was on my show. I'm like, don't you think you personally should be calling out P Doom more? And he was very kind to acknowledge, like, yeah, you know what, that actually makes sense. And I've listened to his podcast, and now he actually does a great job with that. So if more people could have like the same realization of him as like, hey, if not me, who's gonna call this out? Because like we need way more people screaming right now. And I noticed that I'm not screaming, I'm not helping at all, but I should be one of the people who could help. That to me at least seems like the obvious starting point.
Yeah, I don't. I appreciate what they do. I think you're right. It's important, and that's why I'm listening to you because I'm more or less 100% on the same track. Yeah, thanks for your for your work, man.
Yeah, no
I don't know.
problem, man. Yeah, thanks so
Um,
much for calling in.
yeah, have a great day.
Yeah,
See
you
ya.
too, man. All right, see ya. We're gonna wind down the stream here. Last couple of minutes to wrap up. Yeah, so this is the point of doing debates. And look, I personally, I can't say I've ever wrapped my arms around a huge problem, Elon Musk going to Mars, even the problem of like, running a big organization with lots of employees. I've always been like a smaller company entrepreneur myself. Like I run a startup, a small business right now that doesn't have that many employees. And Doom Debates, I have one employee, Producer Ori. I don't plan to hire that many more. So I'm not somebody who's like tackling these huge projects that have all this complexity. I am somebody who just notices when there's like crazy imbalances. And the crazy imbalance here is what I was saying before, which is that like this problem is so bad, right? Well, there should be so much fear around this problem. And then I look around and I mostly just see like complacency, lack of urgency, right? People who will ironically tell you like, oh yeah, AI might kill us all. Like that's kind of a popular thing to say when you actually ask people. It's actually super popular. It might even be the majority. In surveys, it's like a popular opinion, but the urgency is low. So I'm saying like this is the highest stakes, most urgent thing to like ever happen in the history of life on Earth, right? Like the history of the million-year history of the human species. Like nothing has ever been more consequential than this. And yet the amount of times that people like bring it up on a freaking podcast is still rare, right? People are like so dismissive, even though it's like crunch time and so important. So I feel like my value add is just noticing like, this is crazy, right? So even just me going on a show and just saying obvious stuff about how high the P Doom seems to be, I feel like that's my value add, right? I'm not claiming to do that much more than raise awareness. And also I have this bonus thing where it's like, I feel like I can bring some value to the table in terms of raising the quality of debate. Right. So those are the two things that I personally can do. And when you support the show, you're supporting those two things. I think those two things happen to be high leverage right now. But if we're to actually solve the problem, those things have to go well, and we have to also hammer out a treaty, and we have to pause AI, right? We have to have a pause button, and we have to get the public involved and make it more palatable. Like we have to do a lot of different things. We have to work out the technology. We have to secure AI. We have to eventually solve alignment. Maybe we have to make smarter humans who can figure out how to solve alignment. Like there's all these different pieces of the problem. It's just the piece I think I can help with is the piece that's like surprisingly disproportionate. Like there's a huge mismatch right now that I think I can bridge, right? The mismatch between how urgent the problem is and how dismissive everybody is. I feel like I can help bridge that part. And then there's still a lot of other problems that I'm probably not going to be in charge of solving. Yeah. All right. So that's a good note to wrap on. doomdebates.com/donate. Tell a friend, invite a guest, buy the merchandise at Doom Hut, shop.doomdebates.com, and stay tuned for the other upcoming episodes. Like I said, we've got Destiny coming up and we got Bentham's Bulldog. So it's going to be an interesting next couple weeks. All right. Thanks for coming, everybody. See you guys later.